Oh wait, no longer greatness has arrived. Welcome to episode 313 of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, this week, we're talking about those pesky CEOs announcing games yet again in earnings calls. We're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy 16 previews, From Software dropping news while we sleep. And Kyle, are we playmakers? And also, last but not least, we sit down with Danielle Bisutti, aka Freya, from God of War and God of War Ragnarok. All that and so much more. But with all that said, with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. A very fulfilling beginning of the week, followed by a very bad mental health day, and here we are. So just okay, everybody.
Just thing, all right.
Just, yeah, you know.
I'm having a good week. I think it's been fine. It's been, you know, yeah. I've been getting through some games. Like when we talk about
awesome.
the what you've been playing segment, I've been playing a lot of VR. Like
nice.
A stupid amount.
Sweet.
I think it is the majority of time played. Like I think like 80-20% VR to like flat games, you know?
Sweet. Is that what we're going to call them now?
Yeah.
Just flat.
Yeah, well Christian Spicer on DLC calls them flat. And I'm like, you know what? I'm digging that, and I'm taking it. It's mine now.
Okay.
That said, Kyle, I want to open the show, like I usually do, with a question for you, all right? A nice little warm-up, a feeler, as you would.
Okay.
What is the one game, that you are most ashamed you've never played? Not a game that you tried, not a game that you played for a minute or two. You've legitimately have never even pressed play on this game.
Okay. I can do
it.
this.
Think about it here.
It's between one or two.
I got one. I got one lined up. You want to hear it? All right.
Yeah.
Half-Life 2 is it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen my brother, that again, 90s were a thing, right? So I watched my brother play Half-Life 1. I was not allowed. I watched my brother play Blue Shift. All the DLC that they had, expansions, quote unquote, to those games. I even played Counter-Strike. Somehow was able to. I remember that day too, very well. For the keyboard warriors out there, my brother's freshman year of community college, humble brag, he had like a computer lab, right? And him and his buddies were like, yeah, so like after class is over, we play Counter-Strike in here. I never played Counter-Strike in my life. I beat them all over and over and over and over again. And they were furious at me. This is me. I'm like 12. And I'm just owning these kids. Owning the libs, as they say. Now.
Oh, jeez.
That said, though, Kyle. It's community college. It fits. The game that I'm ashamed is Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is renowned. It's beloved. And yet I have never even loaded it up, downloaded it on like Steam or something. Like it's a perfect Steam game, one would think.
Yeah, right?
Never touched it. Hell, I should turn on my Steam Deck right now to see if I can just download it. I bet it's there. I bet they just give it to you when you make a Steam account at this point. Never tried it. What about you, Kyle? What is that one guilty
That's shocking to me because you did you not own the orange box? With Portal? Because it was on there.
I've seen the orange. I think I've taken out the orange box at GameStop when I used to work at GameStop. But
because I that's where I dabbled in it.
Yeah.
On there. So
I watched my brother play the Xbox version. Never touched it.
I'm gonna cheat.
Okay, go for it.
Because I can't pick one or the other.
Sure.
N64 Zeldas? Not once.
Wow. So like
I know they're widely regarded as some of the best games ever made.
Yeah.
Have not even, besides screenshots or have watched like speed runs every once in a while.
God.
Have not touched Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. Zero, nada, nothing. Zelda just doesn't do it for me.
You've never been in Gerudo Valley with the Spanish.
I've never.
Guitars.
No. Well, I've said it multiple times. I've played about a half hour of Breath of the Wild and I just stopped. Like I don't know what it is. I really have no idea what it is. I know they're good games.
Hot damn.
I just can't do it. I don't know.
Hey Kyle, you know what's also a really good game?
What?
Resident Evil 4. You know what's getting remade in a few weeks?
Oh, what?
Resident Evil 4. Guess what?
Ooh, what?
I'm tired of waiting for us to hit 300 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts.
I know what you're about to do.
I'm tired of it. We're at 292 5-star reviews over on the American charts of Apple Podcasts. I'm going to do something.
Hold on. Can I do something? Can I do
please.
something real quick?
Yeah, please.
What are you asking?
Well, this is what I'm asking. This is what I'm selling. All we need is 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And guess what? If you send yours in by the time that the game launches on the 17th, so we'll reveal winners on March
24th, I think it releases.
Oh, does it?
Am I wrong?
Let me know. You have until March 15th. Drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and you are entered to win a copy of Resident Evil 4 Remake on PS5. And here's another one. Double your luck.
Comes out 24th.
24th? Okay.
Yeah.
Double your luck by having a Spotify review. Tweet at us at PS Trophy Room, and you are entered to win. Now, you might say, Joe, I've already dropped you a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Already dropped you a 5-star review on Spotify. Well, guess what? You're in luck because you're automatically entered to win. And if you're a patron at any denomination, you're also entered as well. So double your luck, double your chances, triple your chances to rent Resident Evil 4 Remake on PS5. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify to enter. And that's all good and dandy, but it's time for a little bit of housekeeping. Now, gang, I'm going to have Kyle read our amazing patrons because my voice, I'm already feeling it. I'm losing it. So hopefully I still have it by the end of this episode. Kyle, take it away, good sir.
Newest Patreon members, Matt Pugh at the gold level, DJ Hercules 89 at silver. Our premium patrons, Todd Burwitz and Toxic. See, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best, Joe. Platinum members, Brad Presnell, Brent Gillahan, Jedi Master Ren, Cowboy Danger D, Jonas Young, Jose Jimenez, The Green Gorilla Gamer, Chaotic Monkey, Millennial Falcon Gaming, Ryuku Kill 90, Sith Lord 92, Spam and Bamman, Stephen Flesh, and Strubles and Bits. And our gold members, Awesome Dave, Cypher Primus, Bertos Maximus Baldrin, Darth Simon the Pie Man, Daniel Welsh, Elo 2032, Jesse Garcia, JB the Purple Monkey, Hide Indoors, Nakachaka, Katie Stubbs, Kevin Mitchell, Kevin Diaz, K Grimm, Lamb Chop 93, Marcus O'Neill, Androzor, I can never get that right, Astronaut Jr., Rick Arrington, Dewani Raksha, Aztec King, Robbie Bobby Miller, Brenton Zachary, Brenty Blob, Bubble Boy N7, Captain Logan, Final Fan XZ, Hambone, JD Dellinger, M9 Prime, Stone Cold, ET, Tino 6 Speed, M Cly _ H85, N Johnson, and Sean McKenzie.
Ooh, we thank you all of our amazing patrons. Like we say each and every week, the reason why we sound so good, look so great, is because of your amazing patronage over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. You know what I caught myself doing? When I said look so great, I pointed to the mic. Sound so great, I pointed to the camera.
It happens.
That's what broke me.
It happens.
That said, you keep this show going because of your generosity. So thank you all so very much. I also want to say shout out to our newest member, literally as you were reading the notes.
What?
Our newest member at just the $1 tier. Fudge.
Fudge. Thanks, Fudge.
Just know if you become a Patreon, I'll read any title you give us live on the show.
Oh, hold on.
Anyone. You pick. Anything you want. Sky's the limit. Within reason. Kyle, it is time to square up the news.
First bit of news that needs to be squared up is coming from Andy Robinson over at VGC, and Andy writes, Warner Brothers CEO says Mortal Kombat 12 is coming this year. Speaking during the call, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav mentioned the previously unannounced sequel by name and claimed it would release this year. Quote, there's lots more to come, including the highly anticipated Mortal Kombat 12 and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Games also set for release this year with ambitious launch projections, end quote, he said during the call. The latest game in the series, Mortal Kombat 11, was released in 2019, with the DLC expansion called Aftermath released the following year. Speculation suggested that NetherRealm's next game would be the third in its Injustice series of DC superhero fighting games. However, journalist Jeff Grubb claimed last year that NetherRealm was instead prioritizing Mortal Kombat 12 due to uncertainty over its future with parent company WB Games. Quote, it lines up with reality and it lines up with what I've heard, where Mortal Kombat 12 would make the most sense because that's a game they know will make money. It will sell well, Grubb said at the time. Earlier this year, the actor behind Johnny Cage appeared to tease that he was recording new material for the fighting game series.
Ooh, Mortal Kombat 12. Looks like it is coming out this year. Looks like a lot of the rumors about WB were correct here. You know, it looks like they were out looking for buyers and no one was taking their offers. And so they're like, okay, you know, we got new creative vision with James Gunn. They want us to be used as a conduit to unify the cinematic and TV universes together with games. All this is exciting. So it looks like the team NetherRealm is yet again making another Mortal Kombat game. I want to know, Kyle, are you a little bummed that this is the way we found out?
Always.
Yeah.
I'm always bummed that somebody in a suit sitting behind what I imagine a long oval table with only 2 chairs being used, him and his assistant, among 25 chairs in the room.
Sure.
On one of those office telephones and speaker. That's what I imagined happened. Instead of the team that puts their hard work into the game and them announcing it on their own terms.
Yeah.
So whenever this happens, I feel so bad for the actual people putting in the work, not the person that is going to reap the benefits of after the game comes out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I want to shout out Ed Boon too, because he took it on the cheek, man. He was just like,
yes, he did.
What do you say? Something along the lines of just.
So how about that Injustice 3? Have you heard about Injustice 3?
Yeah, no, this is a bummer, and obviously, to me, I think they said it because they had to. They're like, okay, we know what's out in the spring, but the investors really need to know that we have something in the fall and we can't be vague with them because of the state of WB at the point. So I understand why they took this route. I totally do. It is a bummer because I would love to see these guys on a showcase, perhaps, reveal the game on their terms. But again, like, shout out to Ed for being just a true king, as always, about it.
Oh, absolutely. And do you find it weird that all the major fighting games, series, and IPs all come out relatively around the same time?
Right? It seems like they have the same cycle.
Don't you think they would be like a year after each other at some point?
Like you don't want to compete with Street Fighter?
Yeah, we get a new Street Fighter this year, seemingly a Mortal Kombat in the fall. You think Tekken next spring?
Sure.
Like, they are so close to each other, and I don't understand why that happens.
Yeah, same. And I think the cool thing about the fighting game community, though, like, at least all the creators, they have such an immense respect for one another.
Absolutely.
I like, you don't get to see that so much with games, but in this genre,
definitely not in the first-person shooter.
Definitely
realm.
not in the first-person shooter realm. But like in this realm, you just get to see them championing each other and rooting each other on, and like, I just love seeing that kind of what seems like communication between all these like great minds of fighting here in just one big stage, celebrate it together, because the genre is just so damn small and so competitive. So that said, Kyle, the interesting thing here is it seems like, for me at least, almost every mainline fighter, I maybe from what we've seen, Mortal Kombat The Outlier, has been shown on a PlayStation stage. Think about it, right? Like Street Fighter 6, that's getting marketing with Sony. You got Tekken, that's marketing by Sony, or marketed by Sony. And now Mortal Kombat 12, one would assume with all the ties that Sony has with WB, with Hogwarts Legacy, with Suicide Squad, and even the Arkham games, that this is going to be the same here, especially because PlayStation owns Evo.
I was about to say, I don't think it's about WB. I think it's just because PlayStation owns Evo.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a huge thing that, of course, you want to showcase these mainline historic fighting game franchises.
Yeah.
When you think fighting games, you think of those 3 IPs. So, like, of course, it's going to be on a PlayStation stage, especially since they own Evo.
Yeah. And I don't know, do you think PlayStation's going to also nab the rights of Mortal Kombat in terms of like marketing? Like, do you think we're going to see this game at the PlayStation Showcase? Kyle's in deep thought. Oh, yeah?
I think we will.
I think it's not. I don't even think there's a doubt. Mortal Kombat 11.
I think Street Fighter is going to be out beforehand, so I don't think we're going to see Street Fighter Mortal Kombat in the same thing.
Correct.
And I think we see Tekken at like TGS.
Yes. I think you hit it right on the head. And I think because Microsoft is seemingly too preoccupied with the Activision Blizzard deal, which would totally make sense, that they're not in the market of trying to go after this right now. They're trying to nail down what they're trying to nail down at the point in time. Even just with my ear to the ground, that's seemingly what is the case at Microsoft in terms of why they've been a little bit radio silent, is because they are working on getting that deal done. Now, that said, Enigma writes with this question, just like you can too, if you go over to @PSSheriffroom on Twitter or join our amazing Discord server like the hundreds of you are. If you want to talk to like-minded gamers, if you want to, ask us questions on the show, Discord is the place to be. Enigma writes, now I know you guys aren't too interested in fighting games, correct? With so many coming out this year in terms of big hitters, Tekken, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat, is there anything they could add for you guys to maybe make them more enticing?
For me,
Kyle,
and I just thought of another one, Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah,
another major IP in the fighting game universe. Give me what the old school Tekken did.
Tell me.
Where each character had a storyline arc, like a career for every character. They have their own thing to tell stories, and they weave in with the other characters, and they show up, and everyone has a arch nemesis that's on the roster kind of thing. I used to love doing that, and that is what would get me into a Street Fighter and a Mortal Kombat. It's been a while since I played a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is a thing in the career mode. But I know Aftermath, I think, did some pretty good things. The Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah.
And that story. So I don't know. That's why I want just more story in the fighting games. I can't just play a game where all you do is fight. I know it's real dumb sounding, but like I want a story.
No, I totally get it. Unless God grants me the ability in my sleep or just comes down and goes, Joe, I grant you the ability to be just decent at fighting games, there's no way I'm gonna be enticed to go in, because I'm not kidding you. I couldn't make it through the Injustice 2 tutorial. That I am so terrible at fighting games. Unless it's Marvel vs. Capcom, where I'm decent and I just spam buttons like I'm Ellie in The Last of Us. Or mash them. There's no way. There's just no way. But it is always a genre that I love, what is seemingly the admiration between all these communities. It's so tight-knit. So, yeah, that's... there ain't no way, unfortunately. No. But, again, sucks to see Mortal Kombat get leaked out by the literal CEO. But you know what doesn't suck,
by Brad in a suit. Damn it, Brad.
God damn it, Brad. You son of a bitch. You know what doesn't suck?
What?
Final Fantasy 16, take it away.
Zermina Khan over at PS Lifestyle writes, Final Fantasy 16 draws inspiration from God of War, says director. Final Fantasy 16 gameplay draws inspiration from God of War. Director Hiroshi Takai has said. Takai revealed that he's been a fan of the Santa Monica Studio franchise since the first game released on the PS2. So how is Final Fantasy 16 gameplay inspired by God of War? Speaking to GameSpot, Takai explained that Final Fantasy 16 structure is similar to God of War in that it has a hub that will lead players to the main scenario quests. The hub area will also give players access to locations that they've unlocked in order to complete side quests and other missions. Players can choose to continue with the main story or tackle side content that they've unlocked. This hub is called Hideaway in Final Fantasy 16, and it's where a lot of the game's RPG elements come into play. There's a shop, a blacksmith, NPCs, a quote-unquote hunt board, and much more. Hunt board is described as something that gives players clues to certain locations in the world map where they can, quote, hunt notorious marks, end quote, and earn materials and rewards. Quote, to say there's no influence of that series, meaning God of War, on me and on this game would be a lie, Takai added, end quote. And then Yoshi P on PlayStation exclusivity. Yoshi P says, this time there was a portion where we were developing together with Sony Interactive Entertainment engineers who know the hardware thoroughly down to the core, and we received generous support and optimization that we could not manage on our own, and so on. Additionally, Yoshida says that Sony will help in doing, quote, promotions together globally, end quote. Also, not having to make Final Fantasy 16 for multiple platforms at launch means that Square Enix could, quote, invest more man-hours into things such as building the game and optimization, end quote. Having both technical and promotional support was a big factor in deciding to make Final Fantasy 16 a timed PS5 exclusive.
Ooh, Kyle, thank you for that great read. So, a lot of people are like, whoa. Suddenly, is the protagonist, Clive Bigsby, gonna be tossing around his sword like the axe? What's going on here?
Hello, Juliana.
I love that you get that reference. Like, how is this inspired by God of War? And I just want to say, I was having a conversation with Captain Logan, the best host, or some would say the host of the Xbox Drive. I wouldn't disagree. And I love what he said, where it was along the lines of developers.
Xbox Drive. No, wrong Xbox show.
Oh, what did I say?
You said Xbox Drive.
Oh, sorry, Xbox Expansion Pass.
There you
go. They all sound alike. But he was talking about, like, developers make the games that inspire them. Developers make the games that they want to play. And so when people get really, like, down in the dumps here about, like, oh, it plays like God of War, quote unquote, I'm like, that's the game that they were inspired. They saw something. They saw something that they wanted to do themselves here. And when it talks about the hub world, I'm like, that's where they're really, what Yoshi's P is trying to tell you is, we get it. Final Fantasy games have been very linear, but we're opening it up in a smarter way rather than just giving you this huge open world hub. We're going to give you something that's tighter knit, but you can still have a sense of exploration. I really dig this. I don't know, Kyle, what did you think of not just, Yoshi P's, words here, but you've seen the gameplay. Mm-hmm. What are you pretty optimistic? You're the big Final Fantasy guy. So
I am.
Let me know what you thought.
I can't say I'm over the moon excited.
Ooh,
which is weird for me to say.
All right.
It's similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Okay.
Which I love. It's just, I miss the turn-based era of Final Fantasy. And the hub world is exciting and all that, but I do miss a good open world, because that to me is Final Fantasy's bread and butter usually. I'm still going to play it. I'm going to go in with an open mind. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely stellar. To me, I was watching it, I was like, this looks like God of War meets Dark Souls.
What the hell?
Kind of combat.
We watched the same.
I don't know.
We watched the same thing.
I don't know. I like when there was a scene where like he opened up, he went into like a castle and there were just enemies there and he just went up. That reminds me of something I did in like Demon Souls. I'm just not over the moon excited, which is very weird for me to say. Maybe it's because I'm coming off on a bad mental health day. I don't know.
Yeah,
next week I might be singing a different tune.
Yeah, you seem to be a real grouch, Kyle.
I've been on record saying I'm not excited about the icon versus icon thing.
But it looks rad here, Kyle.
It looks awesome.
We saw another icon chop another icon's arm clean off.
I don't know.
And then stepped on his chest like, Daddy.
I think another reason why it's a bit, a bit of a bummer for me is when I think Final Fantasy, I think of your party and your party members.
So you don't control the party this time. You're just controlling Clive Bigsby.
Just Clive. And maybe that's why I'm having this kind of reaction. But talk to me next week. Maybe I'll change my tune.
Because I'm like, honestly, I saw this and it reminded me of like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy's version of what a Devil May Cry game would look like. Like with all the numbers in the air, but not making me feel bad that it didn't score a double S or whatever it's called. Right? Like
fair. Yeah. I don't like that either.
Yeah, it's super flashy. There's tons of just particle effects in the air. It looks epic. So for me, it's just like I saw him juggling a character in the air and I'm like, this looks 100% up my alley. And for there being no party, again, and this is coming as like a non-hardcore Final Fantasy fan, again, I've only beaten the remake. So this is kind of the duality here. I'm the newcomer, you're the veteran. And I'm super excited. Like, this is everything I want. And when I see that there's no party, I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean there's going to be no way of us to connect on a reasonable, like this could be like a Dragon Age type of situation, where they're helping me out in different ways. But like, to me, I really liked what I saw, especially the Icon v Icon fight, which was what some of the most questionable things that we had here. Looked huge. It looked epic, but we do have some questions. Edward Fudge writes, how many cutscenes are too much in a video game? Final Fantasy 16 has 11 hours of cutscenes. Should I go watch 2 seasons of Game of Thrones instead? That's funny because this game is very much inspired by Game of Thrones. So Kyle.
Yeah.
You think that's a little bit, are we getting Kojima levels here? Like, am I going to just put my controller down? No?
I mean, most Final Fantasies have a lot of cutscenes.
Okay, fair.
So to me, that just comes with the territory. I don't, off the top of my head, don't know just how much time-wise the other games had worth of cutscenes. But, like, I think this is the way they're talking about it and the way the video was talking about how, and the couple previews I read, how it blends seamlessly into gameplay.
Yeah.
Similar to like a Last of Us or a God of War. Like you can't really distinguish visually what is a cutscene, what is gameplay. It's just going to kind of all flow together. So I don't think it's going to take you out of it per se.
Okay.
But I was very shocked in hearing that the main story is like 35 hours.
Yeah.
Seems short for Final Fantasy.
That's excellent because that's what I need.
I know that's what. In all honesty, the fact that you are excited about it gets me excited about it because you're getting into the world of Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Which is what I think most FF fans like myself wanted, more people to play these games and go back to the older ones because they are really, really great.
Yeah, I think it's like it is. I think. Well, we'll get into it with this question.
Yeah.
Botos Maximus writes in: has Final Fantasy had too many games made? And if not, then when do you think they should stop? Personally, for me, Final Fantasy X was the last good one for me. Now, this is a great question because, yeah, there's been like countless. I mean, Green Gorilla Gamer had like a similar question of just like, dude, they've had 16 mainline games. They've had countless spin-off games that are even numbered. Like, I think the real number is like Final Fantasy has had like around 40 games or so in its catalog, games titled Final Fantasy. Kyle, is it too many games? Because I feel like Final Fantasy is at this crossroads that it finds itself in, where I don't think the last game did particularly well in Square's eyes, or what they wanted from it.
You mean 15?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
Yeah,
where the guy with the glasses was like, here, I made you a dinner.
Yeah, I played that game for maybe 9 hours and was very disappointed by it.
Yeah, and so... to me, it's not about how many there've been. I mean, there's been countless Assassin's Creed. That series is still popular. It's more popular than ever, but it's because it's iterated on itself countless times. Like, it used to be a stealth game. Now it's like an action RPG, right? Yeah. So for me,
this is also different because like each entry in it is separate.
Right.
There is no like you gotta play all the other 15 games to understand 16 story. Yeah, there'll be probably references to monsters and items and maybe some NPCs and whatnot. Like in the older games, Biggs and Wedge were in all the Final Fantasy games because they loved Star Wars. So they had Biggs and Wedge in 7, 8, 9.
That's
I believe
awesome.
even in 10.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure and there's a Sid usually, a character named Sid. So like those are kind of like the interconnected kind of
chocobos.
Between them all, but they all tell a contained story.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are some like 13 has 2 spinoffs, 10 has a spinoff.
10
but I don't
what
think
a bold title.
I know, it's wild. 10 again. It's I don't think there's too many. And just really quickly going back to Edward's question. I looked it up. FF7 Remake had 15 hours of cutscenes.
Ooh-wee.
So more than 16, and I didn't mind it.
Yeah. Again, to me, I think Final Fantasy is at that crossroads where it needs to reimagine itself. And if it's taking a risk on one game, where you could see that they could easily go back and go to a formula that works, that's fine. But I think the talent there, along with like Yoshi P, we got like the combat director of like Devil May Cry in here. Like, I think this game looks great, and I wouldn't judge a book by its cover right now in terms of if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you're like, this is not what I wanted from the series. I would try to come in with an open mind, because for me, holy crap, Kyle, this is like number 4 on my top 5 games of 2023. Like, it is up there now for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm excited for that, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, you know what I'm also excited for?
Lay it on me.
The Game of the Year 2022 to also be Game of the Year 2023. Take it away.
How dare you? Rebecca Smith over at PS Lifestyle writes, Elden Ring DLC release date will be after Armored Core 6. When the new Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree expansion was announced earlier this week, and this is me interjecting, at 3 a.m. Eastern time, it came without a DLC release date.
Yeah.
According to the latest reports, the DLC is quite a few months away from release and will follow after Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon hit stores. The Elden Ring DLC release date will not be until the end of 2023 at the earliest. Sources told Exputer that From Software is prioritizing the release of Armored Core 6, and only after this game hits retailers will the Elden Ring DLC become the next focus. Armored Core 6 only has a 2023 release window at the moment. However, the same sources claim the game is aiming for September or October of 2023, with the late September release date looking to be the most likely scenario. However, internal delays could see the game be pushed back, therefore also delaying the Elden Ring DLC. Very little else is known about the upcoming Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, aside from its title and a brief glimpse of concept art showing a land filled with ghostly shadows, mist, and ruined buildings. All of this sits in the shadow of the giant Erdtree. Hopefully, there will be more information soon.
Kyle Stevenson. Now, if you guys don't know, there's a new game of the generation that is Elden Ring, that as of recording, that was launched 369 days ago. Who? Blessed be. That said, that thumbnail, if you're an Elden Ring fan or stan, you know who's riding that horse.
Oh, yeah.
So this looks like it could seem to be, not saying names, and even then it's like, can you really spoil this game? This game's in the
exactly right.
Itself. But
which character with an R, an M, or a G? Like, which one is it?
With a British accent. It could be a prequel. Now, I come at you with the real question here, Kyle. From Software, they don't miss ever in their entire life. I love to hear that they're working on our Armor Core 6. Like, that is, of course, the main focus that is aiming for a September release that will be announced in the next week or so, because I know they're going to be at a trade show with more information on Armored Core, so we can only assume.
Oh, okay.
That said,
yeah,
do we actually think this DLC is coming out this year?
No.
Absolutely
I do not.
No. There's no way. If all the resources or most resources are on Armored Core 6, one would assume then no, this DLC is going to come out early 2024.
Can I be a little fake salty?
Yeah, please.
It's going to come out when the Horizon remake comes out.
Oh,
because this news came out on the Horizon anniversary this year,
like pouring salt on,
and
the
it just
wound.
overshadowed it again. Like, I don't, man. Gorilla, I'm sorry. Horizon's great. It's one of the most slept on games from last year.
Honest to goodness. Kyle, this question comes from M9 Prime. For the Elden Ring DLC, what would you like to see the most? Also, do you think that there will be a weapon that is specific to use on a certain boss fight?
That would be cool.
Like a gimmick fight, as a kid
said.
Yeah. What would you like to see?
I like that boss fight a lot. What would I like to see from DLC? Yeah. I think what you were hinting at, a prequel per se, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
To me, a prequel, you would have to have a set character from Software that you are controlling. And I feel like creating your own character doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense if it is a prequel.
Yeah.
What I would want, maybe see some of these areas before all the calamity or whatever happened.
Okay.
And maybe go through some of that, I think would be cool.
See, here's the thing. Like, yeah, that picture, there's so many questions because it's like, how can I hop in a DeLorean and go back in time with my own character? Because there's no way you're a preset character. You're definitely the character you've leveled up. God knows how many times you've beat it on New Game Plus. So it does have to be, I think, after the fact. When it comes to what I'd like to see the most, there is an awesome boss fight, if we're talking about gimmicks, in Sekiro that I would love to see here, where you're playing with something that is larger than life itself, and you're pretty much just jumping on clouds to get to him. It's one of my favorite boss fights, and if we see some type of recycled version of that boss, it'd be pretty dope. Because to me, I just wanted to see how they expand this universe. Now knowing how well it sold, over 12+ million units, you know that Miyazaki is gonna have to make a sequel. So Kyle, that comes in with the next question here, comes from Somnia, that writes, with 2023 looking extremely stacked game-wise, I was curious, what game could Sony or a third party announce for 2024 or later that would get you very excited? Kyle, I don't like this question because they're already saying 2024 as a time that exists.
I mean, the fact that it is March already as of recording, it's wild.
It's freaking me out.
What game from 2024? Really quickly, though, because I just looked it up because I was trying to remember how Elden Ring ends without spoiling anything. But wouldn't it be cool if you made a new character in the DLC and the final boss is your character from Elden Ring, the main game?
Yes, I would love that.
That'd be pretty cool.
Well, they do that in Dark Souls.
Oh, they do? I didn't
theoretically. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's always an option in a. It's usually like the worst option. It's like, you become king of bullcrap. And then but no, that would actually be pretty cool if like you're fighting a version of yourself, not like a mimic tier, but like you're right, creating a new character and then fighting you from a different timeline. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
All right, that's a multiverse shit. I like it, Kang.
What game announced for next year would make me very, very excited? I mean, I'm gonna say it, Joe.
Just say it. Say it with your whole chest.
A game that you love, that I also love, but not nearly as quite as much as you.
Yeah.
Give me a Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Yes, I was
because
thinking
I'm
about
trying
it
to
today.
think of what studio would be ready, and like I'm also just assuming that Factions it will be a next year thing, so I don't want to say that.
Sure, that'd be
Like,
easy.
who is up next in the PlayStation first party studios that isn't Insomniac, that
Right.
isn't a Naughty Dog, and I feel like it's got to be Sucker Punch. It'd be 4 years since Ghost of Tsushima 1 came out, although they did do Legends and they did do Iki Island. So yeah, I don't know. I think that would be cool. Also, just maybe I don't know, give you more Wolverine.
Yeah, right.
I'm fine there.
God, Insomniac's so busy. So okay, as much as I would love Sucker Punch to make a Ghost of Tsushima on 2, because I literally I saw our good friend Eric J tweet out. He got like the ghost statue.
Ooh,
and I'm like, oh boy, I'm like that's. I was thinking about it today. I'm like, Ghost of Tsushima really is, as much as I joke about Bloodborne and Elden Ring, God, that might be just my favorite game of all time. I'm itching to go back every goddamn day. It's so good. As much as I would like that, I think they're making a PC port first. I think they're prioritizing PC.
Fair.
Right?
Or that would probably go to what, Nix's?
It would, but I would think they're like co-developing together.
Fair.
Teamwork makes the dreams work.
Fair.
London studio, we already kind of know what they're working on. There's so many unknown factors here, and I want to keep it PlayStation. But honestly, I would kind of think maybe whatever Ben's cooking up. I'm always rooting for Ben.
Same.
And so for me, I would love it. I would love it if it's like work with the same tech that you had, the same idea with Freakers. But like, what if it was just aliens? Like, what if this was some sci-fi thing, and there's just like hordes of just like aliens coming at you? Like, I'm thinking Xenomorph style as well.
Oh, okay.
Like that would get me really amped. That would be something I'd be interested in.
All right.
Yeah. So a new IP, really.
If I'm being totally honest here, I think the future of PlayStation is so exciting because we know so little.
Yeah, and I think also, like, honest to God, people, like, we've given them plenty of guff over the past few months.
Absolutely.
I think the past few weeks have been so incredibly exciting from PlayStation. And now knowing that, we're getting a state of play soon, in a few months, or a showcase rather, that has me so amped.
Yeah.
So I know what's coming out in the next few months, and it looks exciting. I know it's Final Fantasy. I know it's Resident Evil 4. You got Jedi Survivor. We're going to talk about Game of the Year, Diablo 4 in a sec. Like, there's so much to be playing that it's just so exciting to be a gamer right now,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know what's not exciting, though?
Layoffs.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, right?
Yeah, that is what it seems like.
Talk to me about it.
Wesley LeBlanc from Game Informer writes, Forspoken developer Luminous Productions merging into Square Enix. Following the release of Forspoken earlier this year, Square Enix has announced that the game's developer Luminous Productions will merge into the company. It's a strange announcement, given that Luminous Productions was already a studio under the Square Enix umbrella, but now it seems that Luminous Productions as an individual entity will be no more, and thus won't be appearing its name among future titles, or won't be seeing its name appear on future titles. Quote, the merger is part of the company's efforts to bolster the competitive prowess of the group's development studios, a goal set forth under its current medium-term business strategy, a press release reads. Square Enix has developed numerous AAA high-definition, in parentheses, HD games, and possesses a wealth of intellectual property, parentheses, IP, and content. Luminous Productions Company Limited is meanwhile equipped not only with AAA title development capabilities, but also technical expertise in areas such as game engine development. Combining the two entities will further enhance the group's ability to develop HD games, end quote. As you can see, it's not that Luminous Productions developers are no longer with Square Enix. It's just that the team has been merged into the wider Square Enix umbrella. As for why, remains unclear. Perhaps it's the result of Forspoken's mixed reception at release, but that's speculation.
So, Kyle, this is a bummer story. I've seen some people try to spin it, but what it seems like is the case is that Luminous Productions first off, that spun off a few years back with Final Fantasy 15, the Luminous engine. It seems like that didn't pan out for them, right? It seems like Forspoken did not pan out for them the way that they wanted. And what it seems like is happening here is that they are being dissolved to be merged into Square Enix proper to maybe find a place in another studio or be kind of the support studio for other teams. Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, I just want to know, a moment of your thoughts of how does this make you feel? Knowing, neither of us played Forspoken, so we don't have a huge attachment to it. But,
yeah.
What do you think this means for, the folks there?
I'm bummed for them.
Yeah.
This is always like, maybe fear isn't the right word, but I always hate seeing people who make one thing.
Yeah.
And then immediately afterwards, like, okay, well, you tried it. We're not going to give you a second chance. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And that really bums me out. If it is in case tied to Forspoken stuff,
yeah.
Again, it's speculation. Who knows what?
Yeah.
But like that always bums you. Like going back to a great example would be like Vicarious, right?
Yeah.
Being molded into Activision proper after they gave us one of the best remakes of all time.
Yeah.
In Tony Hawk, and same thing with Toys for Bob, like being put on Call of Duty stuff after bringing Crash from the Dead.
And those suck because those were like successful as all hell.
Exactly, like that kind of. And another on the indie side of things is Campo Santo, who did Firewatch, and they had a beautiful indie game. I believe it's called In the Valley of the Gods that was announced.
Yeah,
and that is just completely gone because they got moved into Valve proper and working on like Half-Life stuff or Valve things instead of making that really cool looking thing that a lot of people forgot about. So it's always a bummer when that happens because I want studios to be able to tell their own stories and have unique things. And if you're going to take an entire team out from making their own thing just to work on other people's stuff, it just bums me out. Yeah.
It's kind of like for me, it again harkens back to Bent Studio, where like they're an amazing studio. They've made awesome, like, at the time PSP and Vita games, and then they're like, all right, here's our big break with with the PS4, and then it doesn't work, right? Or it doesn't meet that critical success. And what I like to see from PlayStation going, okay, so listen, Days Gone didn't work for us, right? Let's try something else. And as much as that's a bummer, at least we could see that, again, from the outside looking in, PlayStation was willing to go, okay, this didn't work. I see you're working on this project to help a few of our teams out. Once you're done with this, let's start going back to the drawing board of what y'all could deliver in this portfolio that we don't have. And it sucks that Square couldn't find that for Luminous, but, unfortunately, sometimes that's what happens. That's how the cookie crumbles. You know what I'm saying, Kyle? No, you don't. So
no, yeah, I do.
Okay, you're like, you gave me silence. So I'm like, all right, I get it.
Oh, I had it muted because I was like,
okay. Fair enough. But no,
burping, coughing. It was weird.
Oh, gross. Okay, good.
I don't want people to hear that.
So yeah, no, it sucks, but that's kind of just how it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kyle, it's time for some flash news. Gotta go fast. We got an interview with Danielle. We gotta get to. Oh God.
It's an hour long. We gotta go.
Introducing PlayStation Playmakers, growing a network of passionate gamers, creators, athletes, artists, and entertainers who are proving the power of play. LeBron James, along with other music stars and sports icons, have titled PlayStation Playmaker. Eric Lempel, Senior VP at Sony Interactive Entertainment, has revealed a new program today, which will feature a group of passionate PlayStation fans in pop culture. They just gave them a bunch of money, guys. This is influencer marketing that we're seeing here. PlayStation will partner with these celebrities and influencers on an ongoing basis to celebrate their passion for gaming and PlayStation, and a bunch of money that we just gave them so that they could put like a DualSense in one of their like interviews or whatever they have. Alongside that, PlayStation announced a limited LeBron James DualSense and PlayStation 5 cover coming later this year. Spoiler, they look gross, but this is immediately what I was whispering in your ear. They're partnering with celebrities. Celebrities are going to have their own PS5 DualSense controller. That
I don't think it looks gross. That's a you thing. I don't think they look gross. It's just not your thing.
It's just a bunch of like, believe in yourself. You know, you can do this.
It's much like a graffiti crowns.
Yeah.
Like the bronze thing.
That's cool,
but
it's just a bunch of like gibberish.
Hot take, it's cooler than the camouflage.
I mean, that's, well.
For me personally, I'm just saying.
I think.
I'm not getting it, let's be real. But it's cool. I mean, it's probably going to be a collector's item.
So I was, okay. Real talk, as much as like, I was kind of ripping this thing to shreds. Part of me is like, do I pick this up because it could be a collector's items?
Yeah.
But like, to me, it looks ugly. It just
fair.
Like, don't get me wrong. I love like the graffiti, like King James logo. Yeah. That looks cool. But it's like nothing is given, everything is earned on the touchpad. Was this chosen ones? Something else on the bottom here I can't read because it's tilted slightly. It's just like it's a bunch of like LeBron James said this stuff once. You know, I don't know. Kyle, Ask What Not Why writes in, howdy VR troopers. I mean VR trophy hunters. Seeing the announcement of LeBron James and PlayStation, I'm curious, what dream celebrity collaboration would you love to see, and in what way? Like a new controller, PlayStation Play, special appearance, and an exclusive, etc. I want a Jennifer Coolidge. You know how they did the Ozzy Osbourne thing? I want her to describe the DualSense features. You know? I
can't do her voice, but all I'm hearing is I want a hot dog real bad in her voice.
I wanted to be great. If you just have these, just like her whisper. And she's like, kind of like just talking to like, what is the cue card reading? Like an Al Pacino's like Game Award speech. A haptic feedback. Oh, wow. Haptic. What is that?
I raise you that.
You know?
I see your Jennifer Coolidge.
Okay.
And I raise a Christopher Walken.
Let me hear your best Walken.
I can't do it.
Go for it.
Wow. Wow, these haptics. They're wowza.
I think you just did a Al Pacino that's whispering.
I 1000% did. I'm terrible at accents.
Give me Al Pacino. Ooh-ah!
Hoo-ah!
These haptics are nuts.
My little astrobot. Hoo-ah!
Oh my God, yes. What's another one? I don't want to let go of this. I feel like we got gold here. What's a celebrity? A realistic, like a celebrity thing.
Like a realistic one? An actual collaboration?
You know who's pretty cool about video games? The chick that played Kick-Ass. Or played in Kick-Ass.
Hit Girl. I was about to say Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah.
Chloe Grace Moretz. I love her true passion and love for video games.
Yeah.
Like she's talking about like, can I get a squad for COD? Like that's like random tweets at like 1:00 at night. Like that... You see, she's genuine about it. The reason why I'm not like, LeBron James has a DualSense controller, it's like, dude, that guy's too busy being the best at, like, I was gonna say football, at basketball, right? Like, he's not solo 1v1ing me on Dusk, you know. So like, no, give me someone where I can believe their passion, their love for it, you know.
I would throw another
but the LeBron thing is genius because
absolutely,
like this whole thing is smart as all hell.
You kidding? When NBA 2K comes out, come on. Another celebrity that I've heard her talk about how much she loves games, specifically Warcraft, is Mila Kunis.
Yes, get Mila in there.
Who's a huge gamer as well. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So yeah, like just get people that love it. But I understand what they're doing here. This is influencer marketing. This is stuff that I used to do. We're just getting celebrities to hold your product so that that's going to influence potential buyers to go out there and buy the thing. And who better than like LeBron James, who is not just an incredibly talented athlete, but like an amazing entrepreneur and philanthropist. So It makes total sense. Honestly.
Are we playmakers, Joe? I mean, we following creators, right?
I would say we're playmakers. It just depends on what.
No, and part of their network, their description is gamers, creators, athletes, artists, and entertainers. So I think we're in the creator category, right?
I think there's only one way to find out.
Could you imagine if there's a trophy room DualSense?
I mean, why can't there be?
That's fair.
Everybody at PlayStation, at Eric Limpel, if you could find his at Twitter thing.
Every time you get a trophy, the DualSense yells out, "Banger!"
No. It goes, "Wah!
Hooah!"
I'm gonna ruin my voice. I feel it in my soul. Just give me a Jennifer Coolidge one. That'll be great. All right. PlayStation 5's DualSense Edge controller is now available at Amazon and other retailers. Go literally get the best Elite controller out there on the market. Go for it. Mm-hmm. Game of the Year 2023 Diablo 4 beta is coming. Diablo 4's beta will run from March 17th until March 19th for those players who have pre-ordered the game. For those who haven't, they get to experience the beta from March 24th to the 26th. Am I going to run over to GameStop, get a pre-order, then cancel that pre-order? So once I get the code, yeah. Absolutely. Am I thinking about buying a physical PlayStation 5 system again? Because I want the cover art, yes. That's where you guys win. I honestly, I don't even need the disc anymore. I just want the cover art. I just want the case. Give me the case and I'm good.
Fair.
DICE Awards. Here's something. Kyle, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? God of War won 7 awards, including Best Action Game. But the thing that won GOTY is the GOTY that is Elden Ring. Wins Game of the Year. Unsurprising to any of us. Elden Ring was a great game. Was it our Game of the Year last year? I don't know. You have to tune in to find out. No, it wasn't. All right, Kyle. Here's a little segment called What You Been Playing BB, or what we like to say, or what we like to call it now, Quick Play. Now, we've played a lot of games. We got a minute on the clock. We got an hour-long conversation with Danielle, the voice of Freya. We got to get to. So I want to make this a little fast. All right? So ask me if you need to ask me.
Okay.
I played a lot of Horizon Call of the Mountain. In fact, I've beaten it, and I'm now going for the plat.
Nice.
It is a really great VR experience that in its later half introduces a story arc that doesn't need to be there. It feels a little long in the tooth at the last 40-minute mark. And I'm going to say it. There's a little bit of bugs here and there. Little graphical glitches that I got to see that kind of broke out of the immersion, especially the last half. But Fire Sprite, let's talk. Y'all did the damn thing. This game is great. The environments, the vistas. Kyle.
I just, last time we spoke about it, I finally got to do a fight.
Yeah.
In Call of the Mountain. And oh my God, thrilling. Absolutely thrilling to just dodge and strafe and not feeling as chaotic as I thought it would be. Yeah. Especially because they keep it centered and the machine never gets behind you, really. Yeah. And then I got to face off against the Glinthawks, which, oh my God, what a battle! And the coolest thing is you go up afterwards and you rip a part out. Mm-hmm. I love ripping a part out of the machine to keep as like a collectible kind of thing. It feels so good.
The combat gets crazier, and they add a couple of cool mechanics, which I wish they added earlier on, that make the gameplay really sing. But what I will say here is I really, 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 really would have liked them to splice up the traversal a bit towards the end, because it was getting a bit samey. They tried, but it was getting a little bit samey at certain points. It was, again, getting a little long in the tooth with the climbing. But what I will say, when it comes to the combat, it gets crazier, it gets wilder, and you are tired at the end of it, especially with some of the bigger ones. It's like
play sitting down, standing up.
So, that's the one thing I wanted to get at. So sitting down isn't as great as standing up. So I would find a large area to play. You can play it sitting down, but I found that's where the climbing got a little wonkier. But I love this game. an 8, 8.5 is definitely where I see this game sitting.
Sweet.
Gran Turismo 7. I played 5 races. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I played it for an hour. I did not. I'm not a car guy. I don't understand car culture. I do want a RAV4. They look really nice, and it's like you get the hybrid. It's like 40 miles to the gallon. That's the only thing I care about. Gran Turismo 7 VR is absolutely insane. There was a part where I took a ramp down, and Kyle, I was feeling, my brain was like, and this is the acceleration. Like, I felt like I was going downhill. Everyone has been singing the praises on Gran Turismo. Even as a non-car guy, I see it. And go out there, please.
That's awesome.
Octopath Traveler is a code that we got from Square Enix. I am very early on, but let me tell you, so far, so good. It's more Octopath. So if you love those old classic JRPGs, this is it. The beautiful 2.5D. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous on the OLED, but I still find myself playing it remote play on my Steam Deck, believe it or not.
Fair. Okay.
Last but not least, I play Pistol Whip.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle. This game is a bop.
I also played Pistol Whip, among other things, which I'll talk about in a second. But the fact that I didn't play this on the original PSVR, I'm kind of happy I did it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy that this is my first time experience with it. Because, oh my God, it is incredible. Although, the one caveat is I wish it had a seated mode.
Yes, because dude, you work yourself out after like.
Oh, you have to get pretty low to avoid some of those obstacles, and with my back right now, I just can't do it.
I mean, with to sell y'all on it, Pistol Whip is if Beat Saber, John Wick, and Baby Super Driver. Hot had a Baby Driver, had a baby. Yeah, it is so much fun. You're shooting. First off, you can shoot as many bullets as you want, but it awards you more points if you shoot to the beat, which is awesome. Yeah. And it just makes you feel so cool. It's such a great on-rail shooter that reminds me of the old arcade days, and that's when I feel like VR's at its best. When it reminds me of like the old arcade. So those are the games I've been playing. Kyle. Mm-hmm. What are some that you've been playing?
I want to just briefly shout out that my nieces got their first platinum trophy. This. They did everything in Job Simulator VR. It's absolutely incredible. Great game from Alchemy Labs. They're already on to Vacation Simulator and doing everything they can. Haven't played too much VR since last week, other than Pistol Whip. Yeah. Because the girls have taken over the headset. And by the time I want to play, the controllers need to be charged, and I'm too tired. However, hop back into one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Legend of Dragoon.
Yes.
Oh, it felt so good. Oh, everything came flooding back. The music, the menus, the cool battle system where it is turn-based, but when you attack, you have to actively pay attention and press a button prompt at the exact time to add a extra attack on. Ooh. To do more damage.
What if you fail?
Very, very cool. You just do one attack and then you go back out.
You're not.
So
you're
it's
not
not as much damage. You're not punished. Great characters, great music. Like it's good to be back.
That's awesome.
It's very good to be back. I'm excited to keep playing and get further than I ever did because
you getting that plat?
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I don't know how easy or how tough it is, but I'll look into it later.
Fair enough.
And then because we're getting so close to Resident Evil 4,
what are you doing?
I was like, I remember this game that we talked about here, and I was very excited about. It is quote unquote one of those easy plat games. It's from Radalika, but it's called Save Room. Okay. Do you remember me talking to you about Save Room?
No, go for it.
It's literally the inventory management of RE4, the game.
Oh, I think I saw like Wario tweeted out.
Yeah, you just need to fit all the guns and the herbs and everything in its spot. You have a solution, that's all the game is. There's like 40 different levels of you trying to fit all these different weapons and ammo and grenades.
That's awesome.
And you just got to fit it all in. And it's got the same vibes of Resident Evil 4.
That's
awesome. It's awesome. It's $5. Honestly, if you're getting an itch to like just to do that, which is one of my favorite things to do in Resident Evil.
Same.
Easy. Go buy it. Go buy it.
Real talk, Kyle. That will be my easy plat for Callisto, because I want an easy plat that I feel like is fun, and for
that
something
definitely is.
Yeah, like the OCD in me loves doing that in RE.
It's great.
Yeah, great. All right, Kyle, are you holding on to something?
Yes.
Prepare the drop. Here are the latest steals and deals coming to the PlayStation storefront. Destiny 2 Lightfall, PS5 and PS4. Love seeing all the PlayStation Studios games celebrate and shout out Destiny 2.
One of my favorite things. One of my favorite things.
They're really treating this like this is part of the family, but it's not. But it is. Wink, nudge, nudge. Fernbus, and I think I am gonna pick up Destiny Lightfall. By the way,
sweet.
I think I'm gonna give it a go. It looks way too cool. Looks way too cool. Okay. Fernbus Coach Simulator on PS5. Scars Above on PS5, PS4. Void TRRLM2. Void Terminal 2 on PS4. March 1st, Bendy and the Dark Revival on PS5, PS4. Brock, the Investigator. Oh my god, you're an investigator? That is a gator. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great title. Everybody, take a look at that title. Ask yourselves, why can't we be that? On PS5, PS4.
I believe we have a review at 6-1 Indie going up about that game soon. So,
all things through the power of 6-1 Indie. PS5, Leap on PS5, PS4. 2nd of March, Mayhem Single Valley on PS5, PS4. And March 3rd, oh wait, oh god, can I buy Destiny 2 and do this? Okay. No Longer Home on PS5, PS4. And Wulong Fallen Dynasty on PS5, PS4. Ooh, Joe has a conundrum. Okay.
You do.
Okay.
Does your love of souls overweigh your need to be the best in every first-person shooter ever made?
I still got Hogwarts, and I want to plat that.
Yeah.
So I got Octopath.
Yeah.
These are great struggles. These are the struggles that get me excited. Oh, what a conundrum. Why not both? Joseph says. All right. Not both? It's time for our favorite segment before we get into our favorite segment of the night, which is our interview with Danielle. The Sony Pony Express. Yeah. Ghetto Berry writes, hey guys, I'm looking forward to treating myself to Power Wash Simulator this payday weekend. Hell yes. Especially the Lara Croft Manor and the Midgard DLC. What DLC would you like to see next in the game? Imagine Gran Turismo crossover, washing all them sexy cars. Love as always. Take care, you guys. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself, yeah.
Let's keep this PlayStation centric.
Great game, by the way.
Great game. I love that Power Wash Simulator is becoming a thing in this community. What is a PlayStation IP that like we could clean the room of?
Like I'm seeing it right here.
Like
I don't know how fun it would be.
Tell me.
Last of Us.
A lot of shit's dirty there.
Exactly, but it would take away kind of the charm of The Last of Us.
Sure, there's sheen.
Making everything all shiny and nice. Oh my god.
Tell me.
Oh my god.
Tell me.
Are you telling me there could be a future DLC where I can clean dirty machines from Horizon?
Bingo.
Sign me up right now.
We found it, y'all.
I looked over and I saw the Horizon poster. I'm like, we're done. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Let me clean a Thunderjaw, you know?
Yeah. What if we have wait for it. What if we're cleaning oh my god, why is this game Twisted Metal? Why did I forget
that? Twisted Metal cars? Like, that'd be dope too.
Right? Cleaning the white ice cream truck? Yeah.
Cleaning the blood off of the ice cream truck.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we don't ask what's there. Yeah.
No.
You want to read
we clean off
this question?
Spidey suits?
That's what I was thinking. I was like Nathan Drake, like, clean him. Ooh, wee.
That wouldn't be bad, like the artifacts and stuff.
That's true. You gotta use
wouldn't be too bad.
The soft spray. Okay.
It may be a little too similar to Lara Croft though. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yuna writes in, hey guys, hope you guys are both doing well. Welcome to March, where it's National Disability Awareness Month. We start skating to our destination instead of flying. Winter dies down and spring renews itself for the next couple of months. My question this week is, how do you guys feel about being over leveled in games? While playing Like a Dragon Ishin, I like to do as much side content as I can in these Yakuza style games, and that at some points I don't mind being over leveled because I get to enjoy the story while still maybe getting some challenge from the game as a whole. So I throw the ball to you guys. Do you like being a bit over leveled for games, or do you stop yourself from doing all side stuff that opens up right away at the time?
I like a good challenge. I like a good thrill. I like a good adventure. But there's no better feeling than I had. And look at me going back to we always go back. Everything leads to Warcraft eventually. You go to Elwyn Forest, right? And you're level 60 and you just punch a board dead. You know? You get to the mining trolls and you're like, bam, sucker punch.
I'm going to imagine what that means. Yeah.
Yeah, like you just one-shot everything. There's a good feeling when you're overpowered. But that feeling can't last forever. Because then it's like, well, what else do I do? You know? There's no challenge. And if there's no challenge, then why play the game? So for me, it's fine to be over-leveled to an extent, but there has to be a readjustment point as well.
Fair.
So I think of it like akin to like Elden Ring, where it's like, hey, you know what? This boss gives me a whole big bad time. I'm going to go play somewhere else. I'm going to go beat a couple of other bosses, become stronger, and then go and mollywop this kid. That's what I do. So I say a little bit of A, a little bit of B. What about you?
Oh my God.
Oh, Kyle's dying. Look we're both having throw things today. I don't know what's wrong with us.
I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry.
How dare you?
I don't mean to be over leveled.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that it just happens. Like I just do a bunch of side quest stuff, and I like cleaning up the maps, going from left to right and kind of sweeping all in between as I move closer to the main objective. Yeah. Like I think of Horizon, I just bounce back and forth between the map until I get to where it makes sense to kind of go to the main mission path.
Yeah.
And I just happen to be super over leveled. And part of me is sort of bummed because it's not challenging at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of me is like, hell yeah, I put the time in. The game is not disregarding the fact that I just put in all this time for all these side quests and leveled up and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am more powerful, and I kind of dig that.
Yeah, I do something similar. I like to clean out a whole section of a map, because if I feel like I progress and there's still stuff there, it upsets my OCD, and so I gotta go back and I gotta beat those things.
It's hard to go back to the early areas later in the game.
Yeah. Our last question of the night comes from Kevin Ainsworth. Are you guys still actively doing PlayStation Stars? I just realized I haven't gone and done any of the quests in months. My level goes up when I buy stuff, but I feel like I've forgotten it exists. Kevin, we're on the same exact plane of existence here, my friend. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on.
I just pulled it up. I'm at a max level of 4.
Okay. Humble brag, please.
Which I'm that level through January of 2025, apparently. I remember that there's that weird thing.
The levels, for some reason, expire because...
Yeah, I
got 5,000 points. Sorry.
I got 5,049 points as well.
It's asking me to buy Lightfall. Boys, do I buy Lightfall? Kyle, do I do it?
It's up to you.
Don't tell me if it's up to me.
I am not the one to talk about spending money.
Kyle.
I want to. I just don't have it.
Kyle, I'm about to get a job offer. Do I wait for the job offer?
Wait for the job offer.
All right, so then if it's good, look at that cover art. Oh, boy. It's only $50. Okay. I'll wait. I'll practice being patient.
But like,
I'm so good at conserving money, too. It's here, I trust.
The star stuff is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because, like, I signed up for some things to, like, start the mission, and they just didn't count. It's very strange.
Very strange indeed.
Oh, Power Wash Simulator is part of the...
I think that's what someone pointed out as well. Yeah. Oh, if you play... Well, I'm going to play it.
Oh, no, buy any game on the list.
I'll buy any... Where are you seeing this? Oh, here it is.
In the missions.
Play monthly games... Hard game, Shadow of the Colossus. Ooh, you get a little knick-knack. These were definitely supposed to be NFTs. Let's not kid ourselves here.
1000%. 5,000.
I'm looking at all these. It's like, oh, win an arcade machine. Like this was an NFT. I wonder if when they stop, they're just gonna stop the whole, like when they're out of their NFT images.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Get this thing from Yakuza.
What can I get for 5,000 points?
That's a good question.
Oh my god, we both could get $20 of PSN wallet.
Oh,
that's 5,000 coins. That's not bad.
Well, if I don't say, now that Dusty purchase kind of starts making sense.
Hey.
Now it's only $30 compared to, but I just need people to promise they'll play with me and they'll never leave me.
Don't look at me.
Okay,
no, not me.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the questions we got. And now it's for our Danielle Bisutti interview. But here's the thing. Everybody, come with me here for a second. Audio and video watchers, here's the deal. This interview contains light spoilers for God of War 2018, first and foremost. So if you're completely blind when it comes to God of War, you don't know anything that's happening, you might want to skip this interview, come back later to it, because it's fantastic. There are God of War Ragnarok spoilers, but we have identified those, and those are at the very end, so you could click on out of here for that. Okay, so just to make you know, spoilers are afoot, but we've marked them down for you. And again, if you're completely new to God of War, maybe skip out on this. But if you haven't played Ragnarok, we'll have spoilers in the description for you to click on out of it. And if you've beaten both, guess what? You get what is one of our favorite interviews this whole year, because Danielle pours her whole heart and soul into this performance, and it just shows. That being said, for video watchers as well, unfortunately, we lost her video like 10% through the interview. So you'll just have to imagine Danielle being all nice and sweet to us.
Just trust us. It actually is Danielle.
Yeah, it's not AI.
No.
It's not AI. I promise you I didn't go to Bing or Chat GPT, as Microsoft calls it, and get a animatronic Danielle. No, this is actually her. But that said, everybody, it's time for the interview. So let's get right into it. And here joining us to talk all things God of War and Freya is our good friend Danielle Bisutti.
You got it, Bisutti.
Oh, yes. Danielle, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, guys. It's raining. Speaking of what we were just talking about, cats and dogs here in Los Angeles. And I got to tell you, I love it. I think I'm the one weirdo that's like, I want to drive in it. It doesn't make any sense because it already sucks to drive in LA.
Yeah.
But I just find it so romantic. And considering that we've been in this like long withstanding drought, whenever I see water, this like underlying fear I have every time I go to the faucet to brush my teeth that there's not going to be any water is like surpassed. I'm like, I can brush my teeth and wash my hair and there's not going to be any issues and all is well in the world. But no, it's green. The air is fresh and I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's likewise. Awesome. Here on the East Coast, we're about to get hit with some snow for the first time, like all winter. And I'm so excited, but everyone else is dreading it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that does not sound exciting in the slightest.
I can't wait. I love the snow.
Oh, I hate shoveling it.
Why don't you like the snow?
Because you got to shovel it. It's depending on the snow, like the fluff, that's great. But like when it's the sludge, no, that's back pain city. That's population me, you know.
So you're both in Jersey or where are you guys?
I'm Eastern Long Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm North Jersey. You know, we're holding up the state. South Jersey kind of sucks. North Jersey, that's where it's at. The rivalry continues.
Yeah.
I love it. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. Let's start off. Why don't we learn a little bit about Danielle? Where are you from? What do you like to do for a hobby? And how'd you get into acting?
Those are great questions. Well, I am from the city I am in, Los Angeles. I was just born maybe about 10 minutes this way at Cedars-Sinai Hospital right here in the heart of Los Angeles. Pretty much lived here my whole life. When I was about 4.5, we moved up to Washington State. And I think it had a pretty profound impact on my brother and I, just because like we went from like, the streets of a city to green, lush trees and bushes. We lived in Lake Stevens. So there was a lake and there were ducks and there was like a horse that would walk by the front. I mean, we didn't, it's like our little formative minds at that time were like, what's going on? We would go, my brother loved to catch little gardener snakes in the, you know, and we would go on little adventures and hikes, and we would catch little tadpoles. So I think our sense of wonderment and a love for nature was really born there. And you know what, it rained a lot. So maybe that's my affinity for rain, is because
nice.
I love, the green and nature. But yeah, born and raised here, went to school out here, studied theater, musical theater, a singer, actress, writer. I've been dabbling in directing and producing as of late. I guess you could call that a hobby until it becomes a job. And so it's kind of that aspect sort of transitioning. It's all sort of something that I'm just building. I don't really think it's something I'm building with my brand. It's something I'm building as an artist and career-wise, because I just love storytelling. And I was so blessed the day that God gave me God of War, because it's some of the best storytelling, I think, across the board in just about any platform you're going to find, whether it's TV, film, or game.
Yeah. I think that leads right into the second question, and something when we were going through our Game of the Year list and trying to nominate people, it was so hard for performance categories to not just list everyone from God of War. So what's it like being part of one of the greatest game performance ensembles ever assembled? Like, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's staggering and remarkable, and it should be talked about, I believe, because I was just at a lunch with so Tater Tot is our nickname for her. She was camera op on Ragnarok, and Morala, who played Bela. And we were just having a little, coffee and touching base with each other. And we had talked about how great would it be if there were these ensemble, like best ensemble for video game. And I think that there's been this sort of transition to more narrative. And I know that there's also a real passion and importance for the gameplay. So you've got to make sure it's still a video game and not a movie. But when you add characters that you really care about, that you're like on the journey with them, it makes it that much more impactful. At least that's what I'm hearing. And that's what I'm seeing. So yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, I Christopher Judge and, Sonny Soljic, I love them, like my family, and I've been with them now for so long, since 2014. Freya and Kratos and Sonny become this little de facto family, and it kind of happens a little in the first game, and it kind of comes together a little more in Ragnarok, but then, the teenagers sort of like, it's his role to break free. So these relationships in this ensemble that we make carry on into our real life. And, Richard Schiff as my husband, Odin, that was a whole heck of a lot of fun to play off of him. We had a really great time. And, just watching everybody's work has been Ryan Hurst as Thor, like just that one scene, are you a reasonable man? What is it? Are you
a calm and reasonable
person? Are you a calm and reasonable? I don't know. Something about that moment, I just started laughing. Well, holy shit, he's like channeling a Tarantino moment here. Like everything, with Eric Williams' brilliant direction. And it just, and the writing, it's one of the best casts that I've seen. And I'm hearing people give that same feedback. And to be a part of that has been an honor and a blessing.
And I want to know how it came about, because first and foremost, I mean, you and the crew, everyone crushed it. There is something about like the marriage of gameplay meets the ensemble that you just care so much more than just Kratos and Atreus, but you care about all the side characters, Freya, Freyr, Odin, Thor. But I want to know how you got into the role, or how was the role presented to you? How did you come across it?
I want to backtrack, because you did mention Brett Dalton, who I had some really great moments with in this game. And I was lucky enough to be a part of the callback for the actors that read for Freyr. And I just knew it. And I think, I don't work at Sony. I wasn't like, it's him. But I felt so blessed that Matt Sophos and Eric Williams cared enough, respected enough for me, just my sense of it, and my, what my take was. to cast my twin brother, and we all felt it, and by the way, every actor that was on that callback was phenomenal, but there was just something extra, something about Brett when we read together. I felt like we already had this backstory and history that was anchored in some emotional center of my body that I couldn't explain because we just met. And by the way, it was over Zoom. So imagine, usually when you're in the room, you can feel somebody's energy. But anyway, loved working with Brett. So your question, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah, no. How was the role kind of presented to you? How did you come across Freya?
Yeah. So it is one of those things where, people talk about sometimes that it was just something handed to them or an opportunity that they didn't know what they were walking into and then ended up changing like the course of their life. That is what Freya was for me. I was doing TV and film and I'd had a career in that and loving it, and also doing some music on the side and loving that. And then one day my manager was like, "Hey, have you ever given consideration to be in a interactive game?" And I didn't know what that meant. And so she sort of likened it to, like, an Avatar where you wear the full mocap suit and like Gollum and the Lord of the Rings. And so I understood what that was. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm a total nerd. Like, I'd love to be a character in a video game. And so I got the material. And the material read like a beautiful Shakespearean soliloquy, like a queen. And I say this a lot in my interviews, like I was channeling Lady Stark and Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons, because obviously a big fantasy fan watching that show at the time. And I was like, oh, this is my Game of Thrones moment. I was even tempted to like, should I do an accent? No, let's just keep it me. And really connected with the material. At that time, did not know it was Freya, did not know it was God of War, did not even know it was Norse mythology. I think that they had probably just written something that harkened Freya's journey, a quality to a queen who had had everything that was stripped from her. And he was holding the burden of that pain and that betrayal, right? So they just wanted to know what actress out there can connect, and will it be a good fit? So I connect. But I say this all the time. I go into every audition going, it's me. This is mine. It's me, because you have to embody it. You have to believe 100%. Otherwise you're wasting your time and everybody else's. So, I left and I was like, great, nailed it, but you don't ever know how it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And apparently Cory Barlog said he knew within like the first 30 seconds that, I was Freya, and that's like the music to any actor's ears. And before I knew it, there I was I got the role. This is awesome. Holy cow, this is a whole new world. Went to the table read, did not know what video game I was in until I was literally walking through the doors. And like Cory, I think, was like very Willy Wonka in that moment, because he was kind of chuckling with a twinkle in his eye. And I was like terrified. I was like in the boat with the rowers and they were rowing and I didn't know which way I was going. And I was like, what's happening? And I was hanging on for dear life, but she came to me over time, and I'm so grateful for that rehearsal process. And you get that a lot in theater. You don't get that a whole lot in film per se. And in TV, you get that because you start to grow with a character. Well, I've certainly now grown with Freya. I feel that there's a symmetry. It's almost synonymous with who I am. I could step onto the stages tomorrow and have all the emotional resonance and memory of who she is. But that's because that's over time. Mm-hmm. This was the very beginning, and I was like having to find her, the voice, the body.
So when you finally get into the table read, be honest, be real with me, because you're like, what is this interactive video, whatever we got going on here? When you're like, oh, it's God of War.
Yeah.
Was there a moment of like, oh, I know of this. It's broken into the mainstream several times. Yeah. This is a big deal. Or was it one of those moments of, oh, cool, what is that?
No, that would have been worse. They would have really fired me then. They'd have been like, oh, what have we made the biggest mistake of our life. So the story goes like, so there's this behind me right now. And I was standing in the volume, building 7 at Santa Monica, Sony Santa Monica Studios. I love everybody there so much. And I was just standing in the like foyer area before you go into the volume, which is like an all white room with all the cameras and everything. Yeah. And there was a big picture, an oil painting of Kratos. and he was, you know, full on muscles, emotionally like full of anger and revenge and angst, and he had his I think his blades of chaos are in his hands, and he's kneeling, and it's very very striking. And I kept looking back at it. I was like, dude, who is this guy? And I was like, wait a minute. And Corey was in front of me. I was like, I think I know this game. I think that's from God of War, the game called God of War. And that's when he just started laughing, and he was like, he's like, yeah.
I can totally picture Corey doing that motion too.
He's like, yeah. And then I was like, he's like, that's the video game that you're in. And I was like, oh, damn. Things just got real. And then, of course, I was like, oh, man, I would have come so prepared. I would have come with all the research. But I think maybe it all worked out the way it was supposed to, because there was this beautiful, like, step-by-step organic discovery and unfurlment and getting to know who she was. That was you know, this is a collaboration. You've got the writers, you've got Corey, you've got the animators, you've got Bruno and Erica on stage with all the character movements and development. And so she's an amalgamation, and and yes, I poured every ounce of myself into her, and now we are one. We are one.
That's awesome.
I think we have we asked our community for some questions, so we have one right here from M9 Prime. When you were doing God of War 2018, did you already know about Ragnarok, and how soon afterwards did they ask you to put the Freya outfit back on?
Oh, that's a great question. I haven't been asked that one yet. No, I didn't know about Ragnarok, but I had a sense, because you have to understand this is a 900-page script.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 900 pages is like
huge,
War and Peace. I mean, this is insanity. Yeah. Chris, Sunny, we never read it from beginning to end. We would get sections of what we were shooting. And, you know, and then thank God for Matt Sophos and Rich Gobert and you know, Corey and that game. And then, of course, Eric in this game, where they were able to talk to us. Okay, so here's where you've been. Here's where you're going. This is the moment. This sits in this part of the story, because it was helpful for us to be reminded. So I didn't know Ragnarok was coming, but I knew Freya was coming back, because you can't take somebody's son like that. You can't integrate them like that. You can't make a promise to send somebody to hell, that the vilest filth in hell. That is my promise, and not deliver. Yeah. So I was pretty confident as I was holding my dead son in my hands, like complete shell of a woman, and that stare of just like half dead, half I'm coming back. I'll be back, Arnold Schwarzenegger style. Like, I'll be back. I knew I was coming back, but I didn't know that they were going to wrap it all into Ragnarok. And that was awesome when I found out.
Now, here's a question for you. Yeah. You know, we talk a whole lot about Corey in the beginning of, you know, God of War 2018. Could you talk about some of the differences in director style between Corey and Eric Williams? Because when Eric Williams got on or was announced to be the director of Ragnarok, the fans were like, wait, but Corey. And, you know, we saw Christopher come out going, listen, guys, when I heard it wasn't Corey in the beginning, I said, no way. But when Eric came on board and showed me the way, showed me the path forward, there was no way he was not going to deliver. And I mean, look at what Ragnarok is now. Incredible. Eric definitely delivered and killed it. What was your initial reaction when, you know, Corey was just like, hey, I'm going to hand over the reins here to Eric? And how do you feel, you know, their two differences in directing kind of shaped you and your character?
That's a two-part question. So
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, it's good. And it's important because Eric deserves every bit of praise and acknowledgement for, I mean, it's a juggernaut. Ragnarok is a juggernaut. I mean, it's like a behemoth. Like God of War was already this behemoth-sized game. Corey took the franchise, the inception of the sun, and gave it a 180. It's now heralded as one of the greatest games, and in particular, this narrative and everything else. That doesn't take away anything from any of the other departments. I want to be very clear. Yeah. But the narrative shifting allowed all of it to blossom. I mean, we can go on and on about Bear McCreary's score for like 10 hours. I could talk to you about that man forever.
Oh my God. Bisutti.
You got it, Bisutti.
Yes. Danielle, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, guys. It's raining. Speaking of what we were just talking about, cats and dogs here in Los Angeles. And I got to tell you, I love it. I think I'm the one weirdo that's like, I want to drive in it. It doesn't make any sense because it already sucks to drive in LA.
Yeah.
But I just find it so romantic. And considering that we've been in this like long withstanding drought, whenever I see water, this like underlying fear I have every time I go to the faucet to brush my teeth that there's not going to be any water is like surpassed. I'm like, I can brush my teeth and wash my hair and there's not going to be any issues and all is well in the world. But no, it's green. The air is fresh and I'm loving it.
Yeah,
That's
likewise. Awesome. Here on the East Coast, we're about to get hit with some snow for the first time, like all winter. And I'm so excited, but everyone else is dreading it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that does not sound exciting in the slightest.
I can't wait. I love the snow.
Oh, I hate shoveling it.
Why don't you like the snow?
Because I got to shovel it. It's depending on the snow, like the fluff, that's great. But like when it's the sludge, no, that's back pain city. That's population me, you know.
So you're both in Jersey or where are you guys?
I'm Eastern Long Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Sweet. North Jersey. You know, we're holding up the state. South Jersey kind of sucks. Everything, you know, North Jersey, that's where it's at. The rivalry continues.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. Let's start off. Why don't we learn a little bit about Danielle? Where are you from? What do you like to do for a hobby? And how'd you get into acting?
Those are great questions. Well, I am from the city I am in, Los Angeles. I was just born maybe about 10 minutes this way at Cedars-Sinai Hospital right here in the heart of Los Angeles. Pretty much lived here my whole life. When I was about 4.5, we moved up to Washington State. And I think it had a pretty profound impact on my brother and I, just because like we went from like, you know, the streets of a city to green, you know, lush trees and bushes. We lived in Lake Stevens. So there was a lake and there were ducks and there was like a horse that would walk by the front. I mean, we didn't, you know, it's like our little formative minds at that time were like, what's going on? We would go, my brother loved to catch little gardener snakes in the, you know, and we would go on little adventures and hikes and we would catch little tadpoles. So I think our sense of wonderment and a love for nature was really born there. And you know what, it rained a lot. So maybe that's my affinity for rain is because I love the green and nature. But yeah, born and raised here, went to school out here, studied theater, musical theater, a singer, actress, writer. I've been dabbling in directing and producing as of late. I guess you could call that a hobby until it becomes a job. And so it's kind of that aspect sort of transitioning. It's all sort of something that I'm just building. I don't really think it's something I'm building with my brand. It's something I'm building as an artist and career-wise because I just love storytelling. And I was so blessed the day that God gave me God of War because it's some of the best storytelling, I think, across the board in just about any platform you're going to find, whether it's TV, film, or game.
Yeah. I think that leads right into the second question and something when we were going through our Game of the Year list and trying to nominate people, it was so hard for performance categories to not just list everyone from God of War. So what's it like being part of one of the greatest game performance ensembles ever assembled? Like, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's staggering and remarkable, and it should be talked about, I believe, because I was just at a lunch with so Tater Tot is our nickname for her. She was camera op on Ragnarok, and Morala, who played Bela. And we were just having a little, coffee and touching base with each other. And we had talked about how great would it be if there were these ensemble, like best ensemble for video game. And I think that there's been this sort of transition to more narrative. And I know that there's also a real passion and importance for the gameplay. So you've got to make sure it's still a video game and not a movie. But when you add characters that you really care about, that you're like on the journey with them, it makes it that much more impactful. At least that's what I'm hearing. And that's what I'm seeing. So yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, I Christopher Judge and, Sonny Soljic, I love them, like my family. And I've been with them now for so long, since 2014. Freya and Kratos and Sonny become this little de facto family. And it kind of happens a little in the first game. And it kind of comes together a little more in Ragnarok, but then, the teenagers sort of like, it's his role to break free. So these relationships and this ensemble that we make carry on into our real life. And, Richard Schiff as my husband, Odin, that was a whole heck of a lot of fun to play off of him. We had a really great time. And, just watching everybody's work has been Ryan Hurst as Thor, like just that one scene, are you a reasonable man? What is it? Are you
a calm and reasonable
person? Are you a calm and reasonable? I don't know. Something about that moment, I just started laughing. Well, holy shit, he's like channeling a Tarantino moment here. Like everything, with Eric Williams' brilliant direction. And it just, and the writing, it's one of the best casts that I've seen. And I'm hearing people give that same feedback. And to be a part of that has been an honor and a blessing.
And I want to know how it came about, because first and foremost, I mean, you and the crew, everyone crushed it. There is something about like the marriage of gameplay meets the ensemble that you just care so much more than just Kratos and Atreus, but you care about all the side characters, Freya, Freyr, Odin, Thor. But I want to know how you got into the role, or how was the role presented to you? How did you come across it?
I want to backtrack, because you did mention Brett Dalton, who I had some really great moments with in this game. And I was lucky enough to be a part of the callback for the actors that read for Freyr. And I just knew it. And I think, I don't work at Sony. I wasn't like, it's him. But I felt so blessed that Matt Sophos and Eric Williams cared enough, respected enough for me, just my sense of it, and my, what my take was to cast my twin brother. And we all felt it, and by the way, every actor that was on that callback was phenomenal, but there was just something extra, something about Brett when we read together. I felt like we already had this backstory and history that was anchored in some emotional center of my body that I couldn't explain, because we just met. And by the way, it was over Zoom. So imagine, usually when you're in the room, you can feel somebody's energy. But anyway, loved working with Brett. So your question, can you repeat that question again?
How was the role kind of presented to you? How did you come across Freya?
So it is one of those things where, people talk about sometimes that it was just something handed to them, or an opportunity that they didn't know what they were walking into, and then it ended up changing like the course of their life. That is what Freya was for me. I was doing TV and film, and I'd had a career in that, and loving it, and also doing some music on the side and loving that. And then one day my manager was like, hey, have you ever given consideration to be in a interactive game? And I didn't know what that meant. And so she sort of likened it to, an Avatar where you wear the full mocap suit, and like Gollum and the Lord of the Rings. And so I understood what that was. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm a total nerd. Like, I'd love to be a character in a video game. And so I got the material, and the material read like a beautiful Shakespearean soliloquy, like a queen. And I say this a lot in my interviews, like I was channeling Lady Stark and Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons, because obviously a big fantasy fan watching that show at the time. And I was like, oh, this is my Game of Thrones moment. I was even tempted to like, should I do an accent? No, let's just keep it me. And really connected with the material. At that time, did not know it was Freya, did not know it was God of War, did not even know it was Norse mythology. I think that they had probably just written something that harkened Freya's journey, a quality to a queen who had had everything that was stripped from her, and was holding the burden of that pain and that betrayal, right? So they just wanted to know what actress out there can connect, and will it be a good fit? So I connect. But I say this all the time. I go into every audition going, it's me. This is mine. It's me. Because you have to embody it. You have to believe 100%. Otherwise you're wasting your time and everybody else's. So, I left and I was like, great, nailed it, but you don't ever know how it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And apparently Cory Barlog said he knew within like the first 30 seconds that, I was Freya, and that's like the music to any actor's ears. And before I knew it, there I was I got the role. This is awesome. Holy cow, this is a whole new world. Went to the table read, did not know what video game I was in until I was literally walking through the doors. And like Cory, I think, was like very Willy Wonka in that moment, because he was kind of chuckling with a twinkle in his eye. And I was like terrified. I was like in the boat with the rowers and they were rowing and I didn't know which way I was going. And I was like, what's happening? And I was hanging on for dear life, but she came to me over time, and I'm so grateful for that rehearsal process. And you get that a lot in theater. You don't get that a whole lot in film per se, and in TV you get that because you start to grow with the character. Well, I've certainly now grown with Freya. I feel that there's a symmetry. It's almost synonymous with who I am. I could step onto the stages tomorrow and have all the emotional resonance and memory of who she is. But that's because that's over time. Mm-hmm. This was the very beginning, and I was like having to find her, the voice, the body.
So when you finally get into the table read, be honest, be real with me, because you're like, what is this interactive video, whatever we got going on here? When you're like, oh, it's God of War.
Yeah.
Was there a moment of like, oh, I know of this. It's broken into the mainstream several times. Yeah. This is a big deal. Or was it one of those moments of, oh, cool, what is that?
No, that would have been worse. They would have really fired me then. They'd have been like, oh, what have we made the biggest mistake of our life. So the story goes like, so there's this behind me right now. And I was standing in the volume, building 7 at Santa Monica, Sony Santa Monica Studios. I love everybody there so much. And I was just standing in the like foyer area before you go into the volume, which is like an all white room with all the cameras and everything. Yeah. And there was a big picture, an oil painting of Kratos. And he was, full on muscles, emotionally like full of anger and revenge and angst. And he had his I think his blades of chaos are in his hands, and he's kneeling, and it's very, very striking. And I kept looking back at it. I was like, dude, who is this guy? And I was like, wait a minute. And Cory was in front of me. I was like, I think I know this game. That's from God of War, the game called God of War. And that's when he just started laughing, and he was like, he's like, yeah.
I can totally picture Cory doing that motion too.
He's like, yeah. And then I was like, he's like, that's the video game that you're in. And I was like, oh, damn. Things just got real. And then, of course, I was like, oh, man, I would have come so prepared. I would have come with all the research. But I think maybe it all worked out the way it was supposed to, because there was this beautiful, like step-by-step organic discovery and unfurlment and getting to know who she was. That was this is a collaboration. You've got the writers, you've got Cory, you've got the animators, you've got Bruno and Erica on stage with all the character movements and development. And so she's an amalgamation, and and yes, I poured every ounce of myself into her, and now we are one. We are one.
That's awesome.
I think we have we asked our community for some questions, so we have one right here from M9 Prime. When you were doing God of War 2018, did you already know about Ragnarok, and how soon afterwards did they ask you to put the Freya outfit back on?
Oh, that's a great question. I haven't been asked that one yet. No, I didn't know about Ragnarok, but I had a sense, because you have to understand this is a 900-page script.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 900 pages is like huge, War and Peace. I mean, this is insanity. Yeah. Chris, Sunny, we never read it from beginning to end. We would get sections of what we were shooting. And, and then thank God for Matt Sophos and Rich Gobert and Cory and that game. And then, of course, Eric in this game, where they were able to talk to us. Okay, so here's where you've been. Here's where you're going. This is the moment. This sits in this part of the story. because it was helpful for us to be reminded. So I didn't know Ragnarok was coming, but I knew Freya was coming back, because you can't take somebody's son like that. You can't integrate them like that. You can't make a promise to send somebody to hell, that the vilest filth in hell. That is my promise, and not deliver. So I was pretty confident as I was holding my dead son in my hands, like complete shell of a woman, and that stare of just like half dead, half I'm coming back. I'll be back, Arnold Schwarzenegger style. Like, I'll be back. I knew I was coming back, but I didn't know that they were going to wrap it all into Ragnarok. And that was awesome when I found out.
Now, here's a question for you. Yeah. You know, we talk a whole lot about Corey in the beginning of, you know, God of War 2018. Could you talk about some of the differences in director style between Corey and Eric Williams? Because when Eric Williams got on or was announced to be the director of Ragnarok, the fans were like, wait, but Corey. And, you know, we saw Christopher come out going, listen, guys, when I heard it wasn't Corey in the beginning, I said, no way. But when Eric came on board and showed me the way, showed me the path forward, there was no way he was not going to deliver. And I mean, look at what Ragnarok is now. Incredible. Eric definitely delivered and killed it. What was your initial reaction when, you know, Corey was just like, hey, I'm going to hand over the reins here to Eric? And how do you feel, you know, their two differences in directing kind of shaped you and your character?
That's a two-part question. So
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, it's good. And it's important because Eric deserves every bit of praise and acknowledgement for, I mean, it's a juggernaut. Ragnarok is a juggernaut. I mean, it's like a behemoth. Like, God of War was already this behemoth-sized game. Corey took the franchise, the inception of the sun, and give it a 180. It's now heralded as one of the greatest games, and in particular, this narrative and everything else. That doesn't take away anything from any of the other departments. I want to be very clear. Yeah. But the narrative shifting allowed all of it to blossom. I mean, we can go on and on about Bear McCreary's score for like 10 hours. I could talk to you about that man forever. Oh my God. I mean, we can go on and on about Bear McCreary's score for like 10 hours. I could talk to you about that man forever.
Oh my God. That performance at the Game Awards.
I know.
Hozier? Oh man.
I know. Memories of Mother. That melody is just, it's always with me. Yeah. But so when you have like the person who shepherded that, as Corey did, and then, you know, the game that all of a sudden was like, you know, on every stage, winning every game of the year. It was just like, whoa, this is incredible. When that person who was at the helm of the ship is like, I'm going to give, you know, the steering wheel to another director. Well, yeah, of course you're like, but whoa, wait a minute. We all did this together, and I'm familiar with this, because change is always a little scary.
Yeah.
Corey knew exactly what he was doing, and Sony knew exactly what they were doing. And they appointed Eric Williams, who's also been with the franchise for a long period of time, who also understands these characters inside and out, and was able to then not just deal with our little core cast from 2018, because we were kind of like a small little family. Yeah. Now it's like everyone's like backstory. You got Odin that comes in, you got Mimir's backstory, you've got Thor, and that whole like threat at the end. You know, you just see the guy with the lightning and the hammer, and you know Thor's coming. So then you have him, his family, and their whole backstory. You have Surtur and that whole thing. So it was a lot for Eric to navigate. Like, it wasn't just 10 ships in the night in the storm. It was like a fleet of 30 ships. And when we were at the Sony wrap party, I remember both of them spoke, and Eric had gotten up on the stage, and, you know, and Corey was, of course, just congratulating Eric for a job well done. For shepherding and leading all of these departments. And when Eric got up there, he's very humble, by the way. You know, he's not on social media. He rarely does an interview. Mm-hmm. He's not soft-spoken in the sense that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just talks with purpose, and then, like, he's unlike me. He doesn't ramble on. He'll give you a one-liner, and then he's done.
Yeah. Every word behind him has intent. I get it. Listen, podcast game. Listen, rambling's my game.
So, yeah, and you got the right person on with you. So anyway, so he said he called himself a lighthouse. He said because you know, all the winds and the rain and the corrosion from the sea salt and the seagulls that come and take a shit on me. Like, he was like, I stood like the lighthouse to be able to beckon the ships, give them guidance home. And I was like, that was so aptly said that I'm going to steal it for almost every interview, because I couldn't put it more eloquently and also sort of like beautifully, because that's like the rhyme of the ancient mariner prose right there. When I think about how specific Eric was with his direction, how simple he was, which was good for a character like me who had a lot of emotions going on at all times. I mean, even the moment where Freya, spoiler if anyone hasn't seen this, but there is a moment where she reconciles with, am I going to go with vengeance or forgiveness?
Yes.
And even in that moment when I'm sort of like a spinning top of, I don't know where I'm going to land. You know, I'll always be angry, but no, I know it's not you. There's something else. I mean, I had to carry such great depth of emotion and conflict throughout so much of that game until I finally come to my own peace, you know, and they wrote it beautifully. And I got to show every color of a human being, every color of a woman, and every color of a goddess. And it has been the greatest journey. So what Eric gave me in this game in particular was to be able to find the simple moment or the simple truth inside of all of these emotions that were warring inside of me.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And it actually goes to one of our look at this. You say you ramble. You segued perfectly into one of our audience questions. This comes from Cowboy Danger D. They ask, after an intense day of recording, how hard is it for you to take off the Freya hat and go back to Danielle? And thank you for so much of what you do. You're amazing. Aww. So how hard is it to, you know, there are some really rough scenes for you in particular, your journey that you had to go through. How hard is it to, you know, to say, hey, this stays in the booth, right? Like it must be so difficult for you not to take an ounce of baggage with you when you walk out of the volume.
That is also a fantastic question. I haven't had that one either. Wow, we're getting some new questions. This is really cool.
You're dealing with the pros, Danielle.
Hey,
you're dealing with the pros.
What a great crowd you have too. This is Cowboy. Thank you, Cowboy D. Cowboy D. It was hard sometimes, Cowboy D. It was like there were times where, look, you know, I'm a professional in the sense that I've been doing this a while, but I also studied, you know, I studied theater, I studied different techniques. So, you know, you understand how to build a character, but, you know, when you're being truthful in the moment, your body is actually going through the trauma your character's going through.
Yeah.
And when you're really feeling these things, the audience is really feeling them with you. And so, yeah, there were moments where it was really hard to decompress or, you know, just the betrayal after betrayal that Freya went through. And then, of course, me finding those moments in my life is like almost like rescarring, like opening up a scar that's closed, like kind of re-injuring yourself in a way so that the resonance of those emotions can be real within you, so that when the words come out or the scream comes out, Kratos, whatever it is, it's resonating, it's vibrating with that. And so, yeah, like there were moments where my voice was worn, my heart and soul were worn. Physiologically, I was worn. You know, just, I don't know if y'all had like a really good cry in your life, which I think is beautiful and healthy, right?
On a daily basis.
Yeah, great. Me too. Great. Yeah. Our next session, we're just going to cry.
We have a thing on the show where we have a cry counter when we play games. We say how many times we've cried during the game. Yeah. Believe me, Ragnarok, double digits for sure. Many times.
I mean, just the first few moments with Atreus and Fenrir, I was like, ah!
Yeah.
Oh, my dog. Yeah.
It's too much. I was like, oh, man, you guys are starting out large and in charge. It was crazy. They're so brilliant. Yeah, so there were moments that I had to, you know, do self-care days or replenish myself, come back to base. I've never felt like I've lost myself in a character where, I mean, you sometimes see some actors that have issues with, and this is not a pejorative when I say this or a criticism, but, you know, like they have mental, they sometimes can go into a depression or, you know, I think with Freya, probably there were moments where I had to isolate a little bit. and keep myself in that space, because you have to remember, we're not just shooting this consecutively. It's over like a 3 to 4 year period. First game was a 5-year period. This game was about 3.5. And of course, COVID lent into that. So I would know, okay, Friday we're on the stages. So come, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I start to prepare my schedule where I can really go into whatever space I need to, depending on what the material is. Oh, this is the one where I'm ripping out the roots. Okay. I'm gonna need some time to get myself there, and then a little time to decompress. But yeah, it does. Is that my computer making that sound?
Don't worry, computers make all sorts of noises.
I'm gonna turn my mail off, and then that won't be an issue.
People are probably listening to my nieces and nephews running around upstairs. It's
But yeah, there were some times where I did feel worn out from the experience, but never to a point where I felt like this is too much for me to handle. It was always like, it felt kind of good. Like, yeah, I gave everything, and now I gotta go get a massage and drink some wine, and I'll be okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
When you're at the volume and motion capturing in the booth or whatnot, are there any moments of the Freya that we see come from you and your input on the character? Like, you go up to Corey and Eric and be like, hey, I think Freya is more like this in this situation, or are they just so good at the source material from the beginning that it's just kind of like it's there for you and you have no problems with it?
Well, it's certainly written there. I mean, if there was ever a character that I'd seen that went through the entire range of a spectrum of human emotion, it would she's one of them. Okay. So it was already on the page, but also too, it's how it's being played, how it's being interpreted or how it's being lived. And yeah, I think there were a couple moments. I certainly would hope that, I think there were moments where they had taken my input, and they respected me as an artist, as the actress coming in to bring this woman to life, who also knew this woman from a different angle, right? Because when you're writing, you're sort of conceptualizing it on the outside a little bit. Not you're also inside, but when you're an actor, you're the blood and the guts and the soul and the backstory and the breath of this character. So there were a couple times where I think I'd remembered maybe there was a note where it was like there was a concern, not necessarily from the writers, that Freya also be very strong and a leader, because she's the leader of the Vanir, she's the queen of the Valkyrie, and I pushed back only a little bit to say I think it's okay for her to be messy. I don't think you guys aren't writing her from the viewpoint of she just married Odin, she's the queen of the Valkyrie, and everything's honky-dory in the 9 realms. No, you're writing her, she's finding herself again. Yeah. She's going through a transformation, and if that gets messy along the way and kind of rude or a little bit too like snot coming down my nose, not to milk it, but just to be honest, then let me get to that place of empowerment. And I think that we did have a few conversations. I'm okay if she's messy. She doesn't have to be, this whole like, I have to be the strong woman all the time. It's like, what are you, a robot? I'm not a robot. She's not a robot. I wish I was a robot, believe me.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, I process all types of things all fast. Well, and I think you see a lot of that in the Freya side quest.
Yeah, I was going to bring
Ragnarok. It's so powerful. And it is one of my favorite moments in gaming, that I really do feel like it should be a thing on the main beaten path, because if you're missing it, you're missing so much, because there is so much, there's a storm inside of Freya, right? Like she's had all these things kind of put on her shoulders, but at the forefront, she's a mother, and she's dealing with loss from every which angle. And how do you internalize or come to grips with or even overcome? I mean, it's just an incredible performance. Again, I know I was stroking your ego and all that jazz, but
thank you.
And this actually, there's another community question. This comes from Oni, who writes, what is the quality that you relate most to Freya?
Oh, wow. You have really very, they're like acute with their questions. They're very Right on point.
You got the best audience, I'm telling you.
Yeah, guys. So nice to meet you here and spend time with you. Well, let's see. There's the mother's always there with
Yeah.
Freya, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. And also with those side quests, I have to say one of my favorite moments was finally reconciling with my tie to Asgard and that
Yes.
sword moment. And that sword moment you asked me in that last question, were there any moments where you really laid your input in? I knew all of the struggle and then the moment where I just surrender and it gives way and then it just kind of like fell into my hands. That really was a moment where I had I think a lot of input on the choreography of that because I knew in my own life, and now I'll tie into this question, the moments where I have forced it, you
Mm.
know, "Oh, I need it to be a certain way. It's not going to happen, you know, because when you're pushing at something, the energy on the other end is going to push away. And it's usually when you can embody the beingness first and then just be in that space, you'll most likely attract it to you. That's been a lifelong lesson for me in my
Yeah.
journey and still can deal with because we want to be accepted, we want to be acknowledged, we want to get the job, we want all these things that are external, and you can give big pieces of yourself away, in particular in my industry and your industry potentially. You can give big pieces, you can give your value away. Oh, okay, I didn't get nominated for that, or I didn't get that job, or I didn't get the like from that person, but 20,000
Mhm.
other people gave me a like and I just want it from that one person. You know, wasn't that like The Social Network? He's like,
Yeah.
click. He's like waiting at the end. He just wants the one girl. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. He's a billionaire. He just wants the one girl. And that's an interesting component to being human, to our humanity. So yeah, I've had loss, I've had betrayal, I've had victories, and then I felt like forgotten about. I've had all of that in my personal life, in my career. And then I've had moments where I've, you know, been on top and in the limelight, and I've felt like a queen and a leader. And I have lived out in my own life the glory and the guts and the gore of Freya.
Yeah.
So there, it was easy for me to channel everything that was needed there, and anything that wasn't there, I had something, you know, kind of adjacent that I was able to sort of mold and craft as an actress. And I've never been a mother, but I have 16 nieces and nephews,
Oh, yeah.
and
That
I'm
seems like
very
enough. That seems like
yeah.
enough.
You're like you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you, brothers and sisters. No, I
Exactly.
still do want a child, very much so, very much so. And these are big life decisions for me currently that I'm looking at. And I am a mothering energy. I've always had a mothering energy to me without even having a kid. So yeah, so I think that I had the right materials for her, and then the rest of it was invention along with the creatives that wrote her.
It seems
Nice.
like there's just that the you know, maybe from what I'm gathering here is just like the reason that you feel so connected with Freya on her journey is it's easy to connect with someone that you feel like has gone through just, you know, gone through the gauntlet as well. And there's that, you know, there's that kind of kinship between, yeah, you know, I don't know what it's like to be married to a god and then get betrayed and all that jazz, but I know what it's like to get hurt. And I know, you know, and I know that those feelings that we have are connecting us together,
Correct.
in a special way. It's beautiful.
I want to switch gears really quickly before we get back to Freya.
Mhm.
We would like to know a little bit more about the Song of the Valkyrie and how that came
Oh my
about, and
goodness.
how fun was it to don the Valkyrie armor in real life, because it looked awesome.
It was definitely dreams coming true. You
Yeah.
know, it's really cool to be an avatar. And again, you know, we're doing exactly what they do in Avatar. You know, Kate Winslet put on the mocap suit. I put on the mocap suit.
Mm-hmm.
I acted out my scene. She acted out. We're doing the exact same work. You know, yeah, I mean, I wanted to be in the Game of Thrones, and I love fantasy. I've grew
Mm-hmm.
up watching Star Wars, and King Arthur was, you know, a huge, the lore of King Arthur was just huge in my family growing up, especially between me and my mother. And so I always wanted that. And I thought, gosh, you know what? I should just do this. Well, again, at first it was just going to be this little love letter. I love Lana Del Rey. She has a song about video games. It's cute. I'm going to sing it on my ukulele and I'm going to tell my fans I love them. And then I was like, wait a minute. There might be a story here. And then I was so fascinated by the empowerment story of Freya and also the Valkyrie, because when Odin comes along, and this is not necessarily like the cliche toxic masculinity conversation, but in this case, it just happens to be a man named Odin, the Allfather, who comes in and takes what he wants in a very sort of nefarious, like
conniving.
Yeah, it's very clandestine, right? Because she thought she was brokering a peace, and of course, love and family and all that. But he can't help himself; he's got to know, right? Doesn't he say, "No, I have to know"? And that's his, albatross and his cross to bear. And he don't think he meant to hurt Freya, but he just didn't care because what he needs is greater than what this became an issue. Now I'm just going to get rid of you. Oh wow, thanks so much. But to be able to go from that rage and that vengeance all the way through to that forgiveness was incredible. So I thought, wait a minute, we were all asleep to who we were. I was the witch of the woods. And in some parts of me, maybe even forgot, leader of the Vanir, but no longer, I say in that first game, but no longer. And it's almost like she doesn't even want to remember or talk about it. It's too painful. But then when the awakening happens and because it's like, what? Let me just stay here under my turtle where it's warm. Leave me alone. I'm collecting my herbs and I'm making all sorts of fun satyr magic things.
Yeah.
Because it's more painful to have to go through the journey of that transformation. But what happens as it is, her and Kratos, who I think are very like sort of symbiotic, right? The masculine and feminine of one another, they have to go through this journey to come out the other side to repair. You can't get to repairing the 9 realms if you haven't repaired yourself. You can't get to that unless you've gotten to forgiveness and acceptance and integration with yourself. And so when I decided to write about the Valkyrie, I thought this needs to be an empowerment story about these great Valkyrie who were these shield maiden warriors. Now, look, we're also feminine. We're beautiful. We're feminine. We play these instruments. There's sensuality to women. There's sexuality to women. All those things are beautiful, but we didn't want to just be relegated to that, right? We didn't want to just be, that mitigated to that's your value. Well, Odin cast the spell on us, so we're these fairies in the woods playing beautiful, cello and harp. But we forgot, no, wait, we're actually supposed to be these shield maidens. And then when my character remembers, and then she goes and touches everybody, and then the triple-headed arrow rune, Valkyrie rune, appears in the Cave of Transformation. Well, once everyone wakes up, now we're in a formation and we're marching toward the Cave of Transformation. And then the transformation happens and we come out these like fully armored and bodied of all the strengths of femininity to the edge of the cliff to fly off to Ragnarok. I was like, I have to do it. So I wrote it. I envisioned it. I got my team. They helped me to co-create this. We pulled wardrobe from like 5 different wardrobe. I mean, I don't know if you've been following me, but we had a day where we were thanking all of our sponsors. So you got to see where we pulled all these pieces, from the feather, the earwings that my friend made, to the incredible hair design by JL. And then, Gigi, our costume designer. We just wanted to show what our production company could do on a dime, and the quality that we could bring to you. Right now, I'm at Republic Records in Los Angeles. My friend, Rob Christie, who's my music producing partner, we spent hours recording that song. We dialed in every instrument. We wanted the big war drums. We wanted the snare military drums. We wanted the harp to be in there. We wanted to emulate what Lana did, but elevate it in this Norse fantasy lore, this pantheon, and create the world in a 5-minute music video. And that's what we did.
Awesome. And like seeing the production value behind that music video is really incredible, because you said like on a dime. Like a lot of things are just like, we see, quote unquote fan made stuff, and it's like, oh, that's, it's good, but it doesn't reach the level of which you guys have been doing it and partnering with, and it's awesome to see, I think, through a fan's perspective of someone who has fallen so deeply in love with that character. That's just like, no, this is this is a passion. This has resonated with me so much so that, it's something that's going to be, holding on to me or clung to me for, the rest of my time type of feel. I love it. Yeah.
It's the nerdy geek in me. It's the thespian in me, but it's also the girl who thought she was a fairy when she was a little girl. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like when I thought I was a queen fairy, and it just sort of played out into my adult life where I was like, oh, now all these movies that informed me, like these great 80s fantasy films, Corey Barlog and I used to always joke around that we grew up in the same household. We just didn't know it because, like, Never Ending Story and like Legend and, things like Princess Bride and whatever, Clash of the Titans, all these films that we like watched that left these imprints in my psyche and also my identity to be like, feels like I really resonate with that. I feel like I'm going to do that one day in my adult life. And here I am playing witches and goddesses quite often, which is a really beautiful manifestation of a dream and also a lot of hard work.
Yeah. So we saw you don the armor in that music video.
I loved it.
If you were to take a prop from the God of War universe, like what I hear most actors do from a set, they take a piece of wardrobe or whatever. What's the one thing from the God of War universe you would like to take home as like a memento of your time as Freya?
Well, that's tough. Well, here's why that's tough is because, a lot of the props are just like a piece of wood with a bunch of dots on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like if from the in-game universe, if
you could just reach in and take it.
Just take it.
I know you don't want to see that mocap suit ever.
No.
Why? It's so flattering, boys. I had so many like rashes from the Velcro.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Don't get me started on the Velcro. Well, I love the Brisingamen necklace. And actually, I just sort of I've been kind of like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I've been donning these necklaces lately. Oh, and by the way, did you see my little ring?
I did.
Oh.
I love it.
That's amazing.
I call her Falky. Yeah. I found her and I was like, oh, you belong on my finger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love the Brisingamen necklace, but prop wise, probably the bow. Because the bow is both games. The swords, and of course the integration with that other sword, which is one of my absolute favorite scenes for Freya, as we already discussed. Felt more like a Ragnarok when she steps back into her leader of the Vanir, especially when she's around the table with everybody and she's going over like, okay, here's how we go in, through this realm, and Ratatoskr got me this, and she's really starting to like own her strength again. And again, it was almost like not even necessarily stepping into old shoes. It was like, these are the new pair of shoes. Like, through everything I've learned, I'm now a different leader. I know how to lead because of the experiences I've been through. But I would have to say the bow and arrow.
All right. Nice. I love it. Now I'm going to get into some deep spoiler territory for anybody listening. All right. Now's your time to tune out.
Tune out.
Don't worry. We're giving you 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
All right. Santa is not real. Now let's get into the spoiler.
How dare you?
I know. I love doing it. I can't stop. Kevin Diaz writes in, how do you feel about your turn with Freya ending up being an ally to Kratos and Atreus after what was committed in God of War 2018? Were there any specific difficulties or things that aided you in unraveling that side of Freya involving forgiveness and that excruciating act? And I think he's thinking about that. What is the Vanaheim scene, right? The roots.
Roots.
The I don't forgive you, but I forget the line. But it's like it's not.
There's a part of me that I'm still angry, and there's a part of me that will always be angry. But I suppose for now, you're not the one that needs to die. Yeah.
It's like you've read that before. Yeah. That one.
Well, yeah, and I hope I remembered it accurately. So you're wanting to know about
how did you becoming from foe to ally with Kratos and Atreus.
Okay, the foe to ally. Yeah, look, we a second ago we were touching on how we are criers, like all, like it's healthy to cry, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And if you've ever done any kind of therapy in your life, you know, a good therapist would tell you that there's emotions are not negative,
Yeah.
but it's what we do with them, right? They're just energy that need to be expressed. So rather than hitting the person in front of you, hit a pillow, right? Because that anger, whatever that is, needs to be expressed out of you. It's just something in the body. So for Freya, she needed to go through the rage. She needed to be the falcon and shapeshift and land on that sled within an inch of his life with her sword, you know, back around his neck, you know, every violation. I mean, her whole life was basically this one moment of vengeance, but then of course she realizes that that's futile, right? There's no life after that. There's no, you know, you can go eye for an eye, but you're actually not going to be fulfilled until you can see your piece in it, which is huge in this game,
Yes.
taking responsibility, which they learn with the Norns, and then be able to get to forgiveness. So I loved that she became their friend. They already had a bit of that chemistry when it came to Atreus, right?
Yeah.
Because she was the mother whose son was estranged, who wanted to be the mother. And so every time she sees little Atreus, she perks up. Even my voice goes up like 10 octaves, like, hello. Like when I heard that when he came through the door in the first game, hello. And I had a little giggle. I was like, oh my God, that doesn't even sound like Freya. But it's because she's feeling such joy and lightness around this child. So to go from loving Atreus, kind of tolerating Kratos, to then hating him with every inch of my being, to wanting to destroy him, to becoming not only forgiving him, but then becoming his companion to repair is the mountaintop of story writing. It is the most
Yeah.
beautifully responsible type of narrative we could be sharing with the world, to say it is possible to forgive. And hey, look, if Kratos continued to be an a-hole, right, and not keep his word, I'm not a doormat. I'm not a battered woman choosing back into a negative environment. He changed too. We changed
Yes.
together, and look at how we integrated and we changed together. And that's the power of relationship.
Yep.
Because it's really easy for me to judge Kratos. How could you do that? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. The Norns are like, what about you, lady? And I'm like, what do you mean? What about me? How dare you?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
And I mean, like, how did you, I mean, like, and this kind of just secondary to Kev's question is, then, like, did you find out, or when did you find out that, oh, Freya's actually going to be my companion for Kratos? Like, that's going to be
When
a
I
thing.
was told that, I was delighted.
That's awesome.
Obviously, that meant more work. That meant more time creating with the people that I love at Santa Monica Studios. We really do have a very special family environment when we're in that volume. It is a very sacred space. Chris and I talk about it all the time, how lucky we are. And, you know, we all contributed to creating that. And yeah, so when I found out the big news that I was going to be a companion character, I was like, holy cow, that's incredible. So much more story, so much more time in the story. And it also did lead to some of the most challenging work that I had, which was a lot of the grunts and battle cries, because that can just be really taxing on the
Yeah.
voice, and it's
Yeah.
very repetitive. So no, I was thrilled.
Yeah.
Thrilled.
Go for it,
Oh
Kev.
yeah, I was just gonna say a couple things that I just remembered happened, and in my head I'm trying to figure out a way to ask you. In the main game, when we find out what Freya has done to Charlie, the giant turtle,
Oh,
and I was so upset.
I was
And then think whoever's decision it was for the end game to just go back to different places to fill in the plot points. So when I went back with Freya as the companion, and you had that moment where you're like, yeah, no, we need to find someone to take care of him. I was like, oh, thank God, because I felt so bad for Charlie.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I mean, Charlie didn't do anything except, you know, like it's like the dog that I neglected. I left for all this time because I got so consumed with my own rage and everything, and which is actually antithetical to who Freya is. So she's always like, oh, the whale, the tree, the lights of Alfheim. Like she's very. She is witchy. She's Norse magic. She's like pagan, she's in nature, is everything about the Vanir culture. So to know that, I mean, isn't that just the thing, right? When you have such a burden of the negative you can't call it a negative emotion. When you have the burden of something like vengeance that's eating you from the inside out, you're not only neglecting and hurting yourself, but you're hurting other people around you.
Yeah.
And poor Charlie was like the innocent not sacrificial lamb, but
The bystander.
The bystander. He was the innocent bystander who got neglected. So when Berger ends up being there, it was a perfect home for him. I was like, yes, got to apologize to him. Aww.
That's awesome. And another spoiler thing that I've just thought of to ask about. One of my favorite things that God of War, both 2018 and Ragnarok, do is kind of faking you out on what the actual ending of the game is, like walking through the credits and whatnot. And obviously in Ragnarok, the scene before the credits, even like the true credits really roll, is another add to the cry counter. Brock's funeral scene. Ooh. How heavy is that? And just like, I want to touch on a little bit just how great was Adam Harrington as Sindri in this game.
Incredible. Adam's performance and Robert's performance, which is not even really getting mentioned. But listen, every actor, incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Robert just laying there with, the tears in his eyes. I know what you did, you got to let me go. And then Adam just fucking gut wrenched of emotion, just tears. And then I got the tears. And then I'm looking at Chris and Sonny, and we're all just like we are gutted at that moment.
Yeah. God, that scene always gets me because there is that like, the betrayal moment of Tyr. I was just like, wait, what? Because the writing in this game, guys, Santa Monica.
I know.
There's a point where just like, Tyr, why is Tyr saying this? This is not like him. And then that moment, I was just like, this is genius. This is actually...
also the fact, like, with subtitles on, when Tyr's speaking throughout the game, he doesn't have the accent mark.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Then when... Oh, my God.
I'm gonna plug in real quick because I think...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose you guys. No, I mean... This is why they continue to get best narrative time and time again. And again, this doesn't take away from any other video game out there that's writing great narratives. It's just the what this game offered because of how responsible they are. And I keep bringing it back to that, like, Nobody likes in real life an a-hole who just goes around hurting people, that never apologizes and never has any consequences. And we've seen a lot of TV shows and narratives where it's like, really? That's how you're going to end it? And I don't want to mention any because
Sopranos,
Yeah. I mean, you could go on and on. I mean, you could talk about a lot of these things. You're like, wait a minute. I just invested a long period of time with these people. And there's no mea culpa. There's no transformation. We get that in real life all the time, and we don't like it there. Why am I going to spend my precious time watching a show where I'm not going to get it there? Because at the very least, and I'm not saying everything has to be tied up in a fancy bow. It's not like everything was put together perfectly at the end of Ragnarok. Yeah. We looked at the wreckage, and it was Mimir, me, and Kratos, and we're like, well, let's see to it together. Let's
rebuild.
Let's rebuild
and build something better. And it goes into the last thing. And this is from Drellish, so you can yell at him. Do you think we've seen the last of Freya?
I certainly hope not.
Yeah,
same.
I think all of the elements came together to create a really impactful character.
Yeah,
and I am one part of that. And the fan reception of her has been just an absolute joy in my heart. It has meant so much to me because, again, when you're an actor, you're doing all sorts of projects throughout your lifetime, and not all of them get seen, and not all of them get a stage like God of War has gotten. You can do your best work and no one's going to know about it. But this just happened to be some of my best work because of where I'm at in my life and my craft, where I'm at as a human, but also because it was written to this incredible perfection. And the fact that what I was feeling so deeply and honestly is translating through to you, to the fans, and they're coming back with like the same emotion. That's the reciprocity that you hope for. That's why you do what you do. You don't want to do it in a big, void space where nobody's feeling it. And the fact that they're feeling it and loving her, and they're not just like, she's crying she's crying again, she's upset again. But they're like, no, they're really invested because they know she's fighting for something.
Yeah.
It's not just sobbing when she's pulling those roots and going into the fetal position. Leave me alone, guys. She's fighting for something. Yeah. And she doesn't know it's for her. I think she doesn't know it's for her own peace of mind until she realizes that she had a part in it, and that vengeance and even killing Odin is not going to give her the peace of mind that she seeks.
That was such a brilliant scene, because she comes to it, Kratos comes to it, Atreus comes to it, but Adam doesn't, like.
Yes.
And that's what comes after. And like that feeling, there's so much like just flowing through him in that time. Yes. And that's what makes the funeral scene so much more hurt, because he still hasn't found peace. Even after getting justice, he still hasn't found it.
And Go ahead.
I was going to say, I tend to think that Ragnarok is the end of all things. And the only one I feel like truly felt to Ragnarok is Sindri.
Yes.
Brock was his world. Everything ended. That's all he cares about.
Here's how brilliant the writers are. They left Sindri where they left Freya in the last game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing in Sindri's life was taken from him. Beautifully, flawlessly acted by Adam Harrington and Robert Craig had that relationship, the Holdra brothers.
Yeah.
And just like in the last game, when Baldur is taken from me, that is a dead on the inside, but I'm going to do something about it. And that's the exact same thing that Sindri has at the end of this game. So one would hope that we could understand. We don't want to leave Sindri in that place in perpetuity, do we? We want to know what happens with Sindri. We want to know what happens with these characters that we love. And I can only imagine that Sony has some ideas up their sleeve, because this is a huge IP and the fan base loves it and we love it. So why not keep creating what that looks like? I honestly have no idea. I'm just praying.
And honestly, I mean, when people are like, like Kratos arc over, but like more Freya and like Freya and Sindri, I feel like it makes sense.
Let's do the Freya and Holdra brothers spinoff. Did you see that crazy photo that we posted from our wrap party?
Oh no, I have not, but I need to.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's because because we're all friends in real life, and at the party there's a really funny photo of me in between Adam and Robert, and then I put it out on the Twitterverse, and I was like, the Holdra brothers and Freya spinoff, anyone? And they're like, yeah, we would love it. Come on. Like, by the way, they made the dwarves made her necklace, in the lore, right?
Yeah.
In the Prose Edda, the Brisingamen. And so that's why I just think these backstories could be so interesting, because we laid such great foundations. It's like, how did she get the necklace, and when did she first meet, Sindri and Brock, and when, like Mimir with a body, what did that look like?
Oh yeah.
Body. When he thought it would be a good idea to broker the peace, like he's the one that talked Frey into it. Like, no, you got to marry this dude and he'll calm down. Like maybe he did for like a year or two, but then things happen. But I can't speak more highly on my my co-cast and the creators there, and yeah.
I want to ask one more question, but is there one that you'd like to ask here, Colin?
No, go for it, Jeff.
All right. So apparently, I don't know if you know this, but there's an Amazon show. Amazon is interested in making a God of War show. We're very excited about it. We're seeing Christopher Judge going, listen, what's this Dave Bautista nonsense? It's me. And I'm very much on that boat.
Same. Yeah.
It's Christopher gosh dang Judge. So why does it only make sense that you're Freya? That's my only question for you, miss.
Well, you're obviously talking to someone who's partial, and I have no subjectivity. I only have objectivity, because of course I would love to play her in live action. I've been doing live action, and it's just that they animate it, right? And so to have that opportunity to, on that scale, on an incredible, platform like Amazon, who's given us like the Rings of Power and just so on and so forth. Like it's going to be quality because of who Amazon is. It's going to be quality because you already know the game. The fact that Corey's involved, the fact that of course, this is the source, right? To have that integrity of what was laid. And then of course, and then exploring more, right? Because now you've got these new people involved and these incredible creatives. If they ask me, I will join them. Of course I will. And it'll be interesting to see how things play out. I think they probably are assuming that I would be happy to join them. And what's been really meaningful for me has been the fans, stating that they would love to see me as that. The fans saying that they feel me symbiotic, or like the symmetry between me and Freya. And just grateful for what I gave. And if that's the thing, that is the thing in my heart. Remember we talked about that earlier, like, no matter what happens, like that's the thing in my heart that I have the integrity with. And if I continue to grow with Amazon and with the franchise, I would be so humbled and so grateful.
I'll say it. Amazon, please.
Do it.
Do the right thing, Amazon.
Yeah.
Please. No, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for being so generous with your time. It's awesome. Yeah,
I was just saying, it's very easy, and I love hearing it firsthand. But it's so easy to think that, or to see why you were voted our best female performance of last year. Freya means so much to so many people, and it was overwhelmingly in your favor when it came to the vote. But even without the vote, Joe and I, we just absolutely adored your performance as Freya, and we so appreciate your time here today. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. That was like the perfect Christmas gift that you could have given me. Perfect holiday gift. And considering how many great performances there were this year, by women and men in video games, to have received that was incredible. And I continue to be inspired by this world, by the actors who are in it, whether they be TV and film actors that come in, or the journeyman video game, voiceover, mocap. It's the quality in which you make. It shouldn't matter where you came from. It's what are you doing? What quality are you creating?
Absolutely.
So for them to recognize that performance and to bestow me that, I'm so grateful. Thank you. It means the world.
Of course. And with that, everybody, it's time to get back to the main show.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank